The room around you has begun to settle, losing its sharp edges and its demands, fading into a soft, velvety obscureness that wraps around your shoulders like a heavy, warm blanket. Allow yourself to acknowledge the sanctuary you've created here, a space where the noise of the day simply cannot reach, a fortress of quietude built just for you. As you lie here, feel the comforting weight of gravity gently anchoring you to the mattress, a subtle reminder that you are held, you are supported, and you are safe. There is nothing left to solve, no questions left to answer, and no destinations left to reach. The only journey remaining is the one that moves inward, drifting down a long, slow river of tranquility. Close your eyes and notice the darkness behind your eyelids. It is not an empty darkness, but a canvas of infinite depth, swirling with the faint purple afterglow of the day, softening into a deep cosmic indigo. Breathe in deeply, drawing the air down into the pit of your stomach, and as you exhale, imagine a silver mist leaving your body, carrying with it every ounce of tension, every tight muscle unraveling into a loose, fluid state of relaxation. You're becoming lighter and heavier all at once, lighter in spirit, as if you could float away into the ether, yet heavier in body, sinking deeper into the plush embrace of your bed. We're about to embark on a voyage through the landscape of the sleeping mind, exploring the wondrous and mysterious architecture of dreams. But we will not rush. We will move with the pace of a drifting cloud, observing the wonders of the subconscious as if they were stars passing slowly outside the window of a celestial ship. Let my voice be the gentle current that carries you. There is no need to memorize, no need to focus too hard. Simply let the words wash over you like a warm tide, soaking into your mind as you drift closer and closer to the edge of sleep. Visualize yourself standing at the edge of a vast, calm ocean under a starlit sky. The water is still, reflecting the constellations above. You step in, the water is the perfect temperature, and as you float on your back looking up at the universe, we begin our drift into the realm of the dream. As you float in this suspended state of calm, consider the profound universality of the experience awaiting you. It is a comforting thought to know that every single night, humanity collectively engages in this act of inner cinema. Whether or not you recall the images upon waking, your mind enters this theatre without fail. Picture a web of faint golden light connecting every sleeping soul across the globe, a pulsing network of imagination that ignites when the sun goes down. Even those who claim they never dream are simply forgetting the script once the curtain rises on the morning. Laboratory studies observing the rapid movement of eyes behind closed lids confirm that the machinery of the dream is always churning, painting landscapes and weaving narratives for everyone, from the moment of infancy to the twilight of old age. You are part of a massive silent brotherhood and sisterhood of dreamers. It is a biological imperative, as vital to your existence as the beating of your heart or the filling of your lungs. This nocturnal creativity is not a rare gift reserved for the artistic or the imaginative. It is a fundamental standard of the human operating system. Even now, as you listen to the cadence of these words, your brain is preparing to slip into that mode, readying the canvas, mixing the paints, preparing to craft a world that is entirely uniquely yours, yet shared in process with every other person resting on this planet tonight. Let us drift further back in time, following the current of history to the very origins of the word that defines this nightly voyage. Words have textures, and the etymology of dream feels old, wooden, and resonant. Imagine walking through an ancient dusty library where scrolls of parchment crumble under the soft glow of candlelight. Here we find the roots of language. The word dream traces its lineage back to the Middle English drem, but its ancestors tell a more complex story. It is linked to the Old Norse drama, and deeper still to Germanic roots that carry a surprising double meaning. On one hand, these ancient syllables evoke the concept of deception or illusion, a nod to the trickster nature of the mind during sleep. But on the other hand, and perhaps more beautifully, the root connects to concepts of joy, mirth, and music. Visualize a great hall in an ancient era, filled with the strumming of lyres and the soft hum of chanting. To dream was, in a linguistic sense, to experience a form of internal music, a joy of the spirit that transcends the silence of the body. It suggests that our ancestors understood dreaming not just as a visual experience, but as a symphonic one, a state where the soul sings to itself in the quiet of the night. As you lie there now, imagine your coming dreams not just as pictures, but as a slow, melodic composition, a song of the subconscious rising from the deep wells of your memory to comfort and entertain you. As that ancient music fades into a soft, rhythmic hum, bring your awareness back to the physical sensation of your body in this present moment. You may notice that your limbs feel exceptionally heavy, as if gravity has increased its pull just for you. This heaviness is not merely a feeling, it is a sophisticated biological embrace known as rematonia. Imagine your body as a precious vessel, and to protect it during the turbulent adventures of the mind, nature has designed a soft, invisible lock. When you enter the deepest phase of dreaming, known as rapid eye movement sleep, your brainstem sends a signal to your spinal cord, effectively turning off the motor neurons that control your large muscles. It is a safety mechanism of the most elegant design. If you were to dream of running through a field of tall golden wheat or swimming through a turquoise lagoon, you would not want your physical legs to thrash against the sheets or your arms to strike the bedside table. So, the body enters a state of temporary protective paralysis. Visualize a warm, golden cocoon wrapping around you, holding you still, ensuring that while your mind soars through the clouds or dives into the deepest oceans, your physical form remains swaddled, secure, and completely at rest. It is the ultimate permission to let go, knowing that your body is anchored safely while your spirit wanders free. From this feeling of physical safety, let the visual landscape of your mind alter its palette. Imagine a world stripped of its vibrant, chaotic colours, settled instead into the soothing, high-contrast tones of silver, charcoal and slate. For a significant portion of the 20th century, specifically the era dominated by black and white television and cinema, a fascinating phenomenon occurred within the human mind. Research suggests that during this period, a vast majority of people reported dreaming exclusively in grayscale. Picture yourself walking into a vintage cinema, the air filled with dust motes dancing in the projector beam. On the screen, a beautiful, soft-focus world plays out in shades of grey. The lack of colour does not make the dream less real. Rather, it adds a layer of mystery, a noir-like atmosphere where shadows are deeper and light is more luminous. This phenomenon speaks to how deeply our waking environment impresses itself upon our sleeping mind. The media we consume, the images we stare at, they seep into the fabric of our dreams. While modern dreamers typically dream in full, high-definition colour, there is something incredibly restful about visualising a monochrome dreamscape. Imagine a garden at night where the roses are deep grey, the leaves are silver, and the moon is a stark white disk. It simplifies the input, calming the visual cortex, allowing the mind to rest in a world of gentle shadows and soft light, free from the overstimulation of the waking world's neon glare. Drifting slowly from that silver-toned cinema, we find ourselves stepping through a mirror into a world where you're not just a spectator, but the architect. This is the realm of the lucid dream. Imagine the sensation of realizing, midway through a dream, that you are indeed dreaming. It is a spark of consciousness in the void, a lighthouse turning on in the fog. In this state, the boundary between the dreamer and the dream dissolves. You realize that the ground beneath your feet, the sky above your head, and the wind on your face are all extensions of your own thought. Visualizing this state can be incredibly empowering and relaxing. Picture yourself standing in a lush green meadow. You decide you want to fly. Because you know this is a dream, you simply lift your feet and float upward, weightless, soaring over the treetops, feeling the rush of air, completely in control. Lucid dreaming is a skill, a practice of awareness that allows the sleeper to guide the narrative, to turn a storm into a gentle rain, or to summon a door that leads to a peaceful beach. It turns the night into a playground of infinite potential, where the laws of physics are merely suggestions, and your will is the only force that matters. It is the ultimate freedom, a private universe where you are both the king and the kingdom. This creative potential of the dream state is not limited to flights of fancy. It has often spilled over into the waking world, gifting humanity with innovations that have shaped history. Let us float into the workshop of the subconscious, a place where the logical barriers of the day are dismantled, allowing ideas to collide and fuse in new, brilliant ways. Throughout history, great thinkers have solved impossible riddles while they slept. Consider the story of the sewing machine. Elias Howe, struggling for years to perfect the mechanics of the needle, could not find the solution. One night, he slipped into a dream where he was captured by warriors carrying spears. As he looked closely at the spears, he noticed a hole in the tip of each one. He woke with a start, realizing that the eye of the needle needed to be at the point, not the base. Or picture the Russian chemist Dmitry Mendeleev, exhausted from trying to organize the chemical elements. He fell asleep at his desk and dreamt of a table where all the elements fell into place as if slotted by a divine hand. He woke and wrote down the periodic table. These are not accidents. They are the result of the brain continuing to work, to play, to arrange patterns while the conscious mind rests. Your dreams are a fertile soil, constantly germinating seeds of ideas that might just bloom when the sun rises. As we leave the workshop of human invention, let us expand our view to the animal kingdom, acknowledging that we are not the only beings who wander the astral planes at night. Picture a sleeping dog lying on a rug before a crackling fireplace. Its paws twitch gently, a soft whimper escapes its throat, and its eyes move rapidly beneath closed lids. We know instinctively, and science has largely confirmed, that they are dreaming. But what of the others? Imagine the vast ocean again, and deep beneath the surface, a giant octopus changes colour in its sleep, flashing patterns of camouflage as it perhaps dreams of hunting in the coral reefs. Picture a cat dozing on a warm windowsill, its brain replaying the stalk and pounce of a playful afternoon. Even the zebra standing in the savannah and the bird perched high in the canopy engage in this nightly rhythm. It connects us to a broader biological tapestry. To dream is not just human, it is a trait of the sentient, a shared experience of processing life. It creates a feeling of kinship with all living things. When you sleep tonight, you're joining a global chorus of resting minds, from the smallest mouse in the burrow to the great whales drifting in the deep, all lost in their own internal worlds. Sometimes the wall between the waking world and the dream world becomes thin, permeable, like a silk curtain blowing in a breeze. You may have experienced a moment where a sound from your bedroom wove itself seamlessly into the narrative of your dream. This is sensory incorporation. Imagine you're dreaming of a grand orchestra playing a symphony. Suddenly a bell begins to toll in the distance of your dreamscape. You wake up to realize it was your alarm clock. Or perhaps you're dreaming of walking through a desert, feeling a desperate thirst only to wake up with a dry throat. The brain is a master weaver, taking external stimuli, the sound of rain against the window, the drop in temperature, the smell of brewing coffee, and instantly stitching them into the story it is telling. It does this to preserve your sleep, to rationalize the disturbance so that you do not have to wake up. Visualize this process as a gentle guardian, taking the sharp edges of reality and wrapping them in the soft logic of the dream, allowing you to remain in the comfort of your slumber for just a few moments longer. It is a sign of your mind's incredible adaptability, turning the noise of the world into the soundtrack of your rest. As you drift deeper, faces may begin to appear in the gallery of your mind. Some are familiar, loved ones and friends, but others may seem like complete strangers. Yet, here is a profound truth to ponder as you relax. Your mind does not invent faces. Every stranger you meet in a dream is a ghost of a memory, a reflection of someone you have physically seen at some point in your life. Picture a busy city street you walked down 5 years ago. Hundreds of people passed you by. The woman in the red coat, the old man reading a newspaper on a bench, the child chasing a ball. You did not consciously register them. They were background extras in the movie of your day, but your subconscious recorded them. It stored their features in a vast hidden archive. Now, years later, when your dream needs a character, it pulls one of these faces from the shelf. That stranger guiding you through a dream maze is a real person you once shared a fleeting moment of space with. It suggests that we are all more connected than we realise, that we populate each other's dreams, appearing as guest stars in the nightly theatres of people we may never meet again. It is a beautiful, haunting web of connection, ensuring that no one is ever truly forgotten. We are all preserved in the collective library of human dreaming, and yet, despite this richness, despite the vivid intensity of the faces and the flights of invention, the nature of the dream is ephemeral. We arrive now at the concept of the great washing away, the amnesia that claims the night. It is said that within 5 minutes of waking, half of your dream is forgotten. Within 10 minutes, 90% is gone, evaporating like mist under the morning sun. Visualize a beautiful, intricate sandcastle built at the edge of the tide. It is detailed, with towers and moats, representing the complex narrative of your dream. As the tide of wakefulness rises, the water gently laps against the sand, smoothing it out, taking the structure back into the ocean. This forgetting is not a failure of memory, but a necessary cleansing. If we remembered every dream as vividly as we remember reality, we might lose our grip on what is real and what is not. The brain clears the slate, allowing you to start the new day fresh, unburdened by the phantom emotions of the night. It is a mercy, a gentle release. As you lie here now, preparing to sleep, you can find comfort in this transience. You do not need to hold on to anything. You can experience the wonder, the joy, and the flight, and then, like a handful of water, let it slip through your fingers, returning to the source, leaving you rested, restored, and ready for a new beginning. Just as the ocean tide withdraws to leave the sand pristine and smooth, erasing the castles of the night, there are certain currents that circle back, carving deep, familiar channels into the landscape of your mind. We drift now toward the phenomenon of the recurring dream. Imagine walking through a dense, ancient forest. The trees are tall, their canopies knitting together to filter the sunlight into dappled pools of gold on the mossy floor. You realise, with a sense of gentle déjà vu, that you have walked this path before. You know exactly where the stream bends, where the roots of the great oak rise from the earth, and where the clearing opens up to the sky. Recurring dreams are the mind's way of revisiting a theme, like a musician practicing a complex measure of a symphony until the melody is perfect. These repetitions are not signs of stagnation, but of a persistent inner wisdom. Your subconscious is a patient teacher, presenting you with the same riddle, the same landscape, or the same scenario, gently nudging you to look closer, to resolve an unresolved emotion, or to acknowledge a hidden desire. Visualize this repetition not as a haunting, but as a comforting spiral. You're circling the center of a profound truth. With each visit to this familiar dreamscape, you bring a little more awareness, a little more peace, chipping away at the mystery until, one night, the cycle completes itself and the path leads you somewhere entirely new. As we move away from the visuals of the forest, let us dissolve the reliance on sight altogether and float into a world constructed of pure sensation. It is a common misconception that the blind dwell in a world of darkness, but in the realm of dreams, their experience is a vibrant tapestry woven from the other sharpened senses. For those who are born without sight, the dream state is not a visual movie, but a symphony of sound, touch, taste, and smell, richer and more textured than a sighted person might ever comprehend. Picture yourself standing in a garden with your eyes closed. In this dream, the reality of the rose is not in its redness, but in the velvet softness of its petals against your fingertips and the heady, sweet perfume that hangs heavy in the air. You hear the distinct hum of a bumblebee, the crunch of gravel beneath your feet, and the warmth of the sun pressing against your skin. This is the visual language of the blind dreamer. It is a reminder that your brain is a master simulator, capable of constructing a complete immersive reality without a single photon of light. It speaks to the incredible adaptability of the human spirit. In the dream world, no sense is truly lost. It is merely translated into a different dialect of experience, creating a soundscape and a tactile wonderland that is just as vivid, just as meaningful, and just as real as any picture. Sometimes, as you're just beginning to step into this sensory garden, right at the threshold of sleep, you might experience a sudden, startling sensation, a feeling of falling, followed by a quick, involuntary twitch of your body. This is known as the hypnic jerk. While it can be surprising, let it be a comforting signal that your body is successfully powering down. Imagine a complex system of lights and machinery slowly turning off for the night. Occasionally, as the muscles relax and the nervous system shifts gears, there is a momentary spark, a harmless surge of energy. Evolutionary biologists suggest this might be a fascinating echo from our ancient past, a phantom memory from the time our ancestors slept in the high branches of trees. The sensation of falling was a warning system, a reflex to ensure we didn't tumble from our perch. Visualize this not as a disruption, but as a connection to the deep, primal history of your DNA. You're safe in your bed, grounded and secure, but for a fleeting second, your body remembers the trees. Let that little jolt be a release of the day's final tension, a physical sign that you're crossing the border from the waking world into the deep, paralyzed safety of true slumber. It is the final check of the controls before the ship drifts completely into the void. Once that final check is complete and you have drifted into the open waters of the night, do not imagine that you stay in one single state. Your sleep is not a flat, stagnant pond, but a rhythmic ocean with rising and falling tides. We cycle through these stages with the regularity of a pendulum. You do not have just one dream per night. You are the author of an entire anthology. On average, a person will drift through 4 to 6 distinct dream cycles every single night, separated by periods of deep, restorative, dreamless sleep. Visualize a series of waves rolling toward a shore. The first wave is small, a brief vignette that lasts only a few minutes. This occurs early in the night. But as the night deepens and turns toward morning, the waves become larger, taller, and longer. The final dream of the morning can be a sweeping epic, lasting 45 minutes or more. You're a traveller hopping between islands of imagination. You might visit a childhood home in the first cycle, fly through the stars in the second, and solve a complex puzzle in the third. Even if you wake remembering nothing, know that your mind has been busy, washing through these cycles, scrubbing the mental decks, and processing the emotions of your life in a series of acts, like a grand play performed to an audience of one. Within these acts, time itself behaves in a way that feels elastic, stretching and compressing like taffy. There is a myth that a dream which feels like it lasted for hours actually occurs in a split second of real time. However, science tells us something more grounding. For the most part, dream time matches real time. If you dream you're walking down a long hallway for 5 minutes, it likely takes 5 minutes of clock time for your brain to weave that sequence. Yet, the perception of time is what creates the magic. Because the dream world is stripped of the mundane, the waiting in line, the traffic, the dull moments, it feels denser. Visualize a clock melting, its hands dissolving. In the dream, you cut straight to the essence of the experience. You're instantly at the top of the mountain without the hours of climbing. You're suddenly in the middle of the conversation without the awkward introductions. This density makes a night of dreaming feel like a lifetime of adventure. It is a form of time travel where the boring bits are edited out, leaving only the pure, distilled concentration of experience. You're living a second life in the quiet hours, one where the constraints of the clock are loosened, allowing you to experience the fullness of a moment without the pressure of the ticking second hand. As you navigate this timeless realm, you may have noticed that you accept the most bizarre circumstances with total nonchalance. You might be having tea with a polar bear or driving a car made of bread, and in the dream, this seems perfectly reasonable. This is because the logic center of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, effectively shuts down while you dream. Imagine a strict, uptight security guard who stands at the door of your mind, checking everyone's ID, ensuring that everything makes sense and follows the rules of physics. When you fall asleep, this guard hangs up his hat, turns off the lights, and goes on a break. With the logic guard gone, the creative, emotional, and visual parts of your brain are allowed to throw a wild, uninhibited party. There is no one to say, "That's impossible," or "That doesn't make sense." Visualize a playground where gravity is optional and colours can be tasted. This suspension of judgment is crucial for the emotional processing of dreams. It allows you to explore feelings and scenarios that your waking, logical mind would reject or repress. It is a space of ultimate acceptance. In this realm, you are free to be illogical, to be whimsical, to be impossible. It is a nightly vacation from the rigid rules of reality, a place where the only law is the flow of your own imagination. Because the logic center is offline, the language of dreams shifts from literal text to poetic symbolism. The mind speaks to you in metaphors, using images to encode complex feelings. If you dream of losing your teeth, you are likely not worried about dentistry, but processing a feeling of powerlessness or a fear of losing face in a social situation. If you dream of a house, the house is often a symbol of yourself, the attic representing your higher thoughts, the basement your buried memories, the kitchen your source of nourishment. Imagine your mind as a master artist painting a canvas of symbols. It does not use words, it uses pictures. A turbulent ocean might represent your overwhelming emotions. A locked door might represent an opportunity you feel is out of reach. Instead of trying to read the dream like a newspaper, visualize it as walking through an art gallery. You are there to feel the impression of the images, to sense the mood. This symbolic language is universal yet deeply personal. It allows the brain to tackle difficult subjects sideways, wrapping them in the camouflage of metaphor so they can be safely examined without triggering the alarms of the conscious mind. It is a gentle, artistic way for your inner self to communicate with your waking self. Sometimes the images in this gallery are direct echoes of what you did during the day. This phenomenon is known as the Tetris effect. If you spend hours playing a game with falling blocks, or weeding a garden, or riding the waves on a boat, when you close your eyes, your brain continues to project those patterns. It is as if the visual cortex retains the momentum of the day's focus. Picture a calm sea after a day of sailing. Even though you're now lying on solid ground in a warm, still bed, you can still feel the phantom motion of the waves rocking you gently. You can still see the rise and fall of the blue water behind your eyelids. This is the brain's way of filing and organizing the sensory input it received. It is knitting the new skills into your neural pathways. Visualize this as a gentle reverberation, a soft echo fading into the distance. It confirms that your brain is learning, adapting, and mastering the tasks of your waking life, physically rewiring itself while you rest. It transforms the repetitive labor of the day into a hypnotic, rhythmic pattern that lulls you deeper into sleep. Deep within that sleep, there is also a fascinating biological difference in the landscapes navigated by men and women, though the boundaries are soft and fluid. Research suggests a subtle divergence in the social networks of our dreams. Women's dreams often feature a more equal balance of male and female characters, a rich tapestry of social interactions, conversations, and emotional exchanges, often set in familiar indoor environments like homes or workplaces. In contrast, men's dreams historically tend to feature more male characters, often strangers, and are more frequently set outdoors, involving physical activities or abstract challenges. Visualize two different directors interpreting the same script. One focuses on the nuance of dialogue and connection, weaving a drama of relationships. The other focuses on action, movement, and the navigation of space, Yet both are processing the same fundamental human needs: connection, safety, and achievement. Regardless of the trends, your dream world is a reflection of your personal reality. It populates itself with the cast of characters that matter to you, creating a nightly social gathering where you work through the dynamics of your relationships in the safety of your own head. Finally, consider the concept of pain within this imaginary world. It is a rare and fleeting thing. While emotions in dreams can be intensely powerful, joy, fear, love, grief, physical pain is surprisingly absent for the vast majority of dreamers. You might dream of falling from a great height, but you land without a bruise. You might dream of walking through fire, but you feel no burn. This is because the brain decouples the sensation of pain from the narrative. It allows you to experience the concept of danger or injury without the suffering. Visualize your dream body as being made of light or mist. It is invulnerable. Nothing can truly harm you here. You can move through the most chaotic storms, the sharpest thorns, or the coldest snows, and remain untouched. This absence of pain is another layer of the sanctuary that sleep provides. It is a safe training ground where you can face fears and endure trials, knowing that when you wake, your physical body will be whole, comfortable, and resting softly in the indentation of your mattress, untouched by the phantom battles of the night. You are invincible in your dreams, a spirit of pure awareness floating through a world that cannot leave a scratch. Floating on this notion of invincibility, where the spirit cannot be bruised by the phantoms of the night, we gently drift toward a deeper understanding of those dreams that feel less like playgrounds and more like trials. You may have experienced the darker shades of the dream palette, the chase, the storm, the confrontation. While we often label these as nightmares, evolutionary biologists invite us to view them through a lens of profound gratitude. This is the threat simulation theory. Visualize your mind as an ancient ancestral dojo, a training ground built by thousands of generations of survivors. When you sleep, your brain does not merely rest, it prepares. It constructs simulations of danger, a predator in the brush, a fall from a cliff, a social conflict, so that you can practice your reaction in the safety of the simulation. It is a virtual reality program designed for your survival. Picture a warrior practicing sword strokes in the air. The enemy is not real, but the skill is being honed. When you wake from a tense dream, your heart may be beating faster, but you have successfully run the drill. You have faced the shadow and survived. This perspective transforms fear into function. It allows you to see these darker narratives not as punishments, but as gifts from your biology, sharpening your reflexes and strengthening your resilience while you lie comfortably swaddled in your blankets, protected from the true wilderness of the world. In these simulations, and indeed in many of your gentler dreams, you may have encountered a curious and often frustrating physical sensation, the inability to run at full speed. Imagine you are trying to sprint across a sunlit beach, but the air around you has turned into a thick, clear molasses. Your legs feel heavy, like pillars of lead, and every step requires a Herculean effort, as if you are moving through deep, viscous mud. You push and push, but you float forward in slow motion. This phenomenon, while perplexing, is actually a reassuring sign that your sleep safety mechanisms are working perfectly. Recall the golden cocoon of rematonia we spoke of earlier, the paralysis that keeps you safe in bed. When your dream self tries to run, your brain sends a command to your legs to move. However, because your physical legs are paralyzed to keep you on the mattress, your brain receives no feedback. It expects the sensation of muscles firing and feet striking the ground, but it gets silence. To make sense of this lack of feedback, your dreaming mind interprets it as resistance. It weaves a story that the air is heavy or the ground is sticky. So the next time you find yourself running in slow motion through a dream, do not feel panic. Instead, let a wave of relief wash over you. It is simply your mind whispering that your body is safe, still, and deeply asleep, anchored securely in the waking world while you explore the dream. Just as your legs struggle to find purchase in the dream world, so too do your eyes struggle to fixate on the static symbols of language. Drifting into a quiet library within your mind, imagine picking up a book from a dusty shelf. You open it, expecting to read a story, but the letters are not behaving as they should. They are mercurial, shifting and dancing on the page like ants scurrying in a line. You look away for a split second and look back, and the sentence has changed completely, or the language has transformed into alien glyphs. This fluidity applies to time as well. Visualize looking at a digital clock in a dream. It reads 3 ways. You look away, and when you glance back a moment later, it reads 899 or dissolves into a scramble of shapes. This happens because the regions of your brain responsible for interpreting language and linear data, specifically Wernicke's area, are largely dormant during sleep. The dreaming mind is a generator of imagery and emotion, not a processor of static data. It cannot hold a stable image of text because text is a rule-bound, logical construct. This inability to read or tell time is often used by lucid dreamers as a reality check. It is a gentle reminder that you have left the world of rigid rules and entered the fluid, artistic realm of the subconscious, where meaning is felt rather than read, and time is measured in heartbeats rather than seconds. As the text dissolves into abstract shapes, your perspective of the self may also undergo a serene shift. In the waking world, you always view life from behind your own eyes, a first-person camera locked to your physical being. But in the dream world, you are free to detach. Imagine the sensation of floating upward, out of your own body, and watching yourself from a few feet away. You see yourself walking through a meadow or sitting at a table, as if you were a character in a movie and you are the audience. This third-person perspective is a form of dissociation that speaks to the flexibility of the ego during sleep. You are simultaneously the actor and the observer. It creates a feeling of detachment that can be incredibly soothing. You're witnessing your own life, your own narrative, but without the immediate visceral attachment to the outcome. It is a state of pure observation. Visualize this camera angle panning back, showing you not just yourself, but the environment around you in a panoramic view that your physical eyes could never capture. It suggests that in the dream state, your identity is more fluid, less confined to the specific coordinates of your body, allowing you to exist as a pure point of consciousness that can drift, hover, and observe the beauty of your own inner world from any angle you choose. Sometimes the dream weaves a layer so convincing that it mimics the very act of waking up. This is the phenomenon of the false awakening. Imagine the sunlight hitting your face. You stretch, throw off the covers, place your feet on the cool floor, and walk to the bathroom to brush your teeth. The water feels cold, the mint tastes sharp. You go to the kitchen, start the coffee, and then, suddenly, you wake up again. You're back in bed. The previous 10 minutes were an illusion, a dream disguised as the morning routine. While this can be disorienting, it is a testament to the brain's incredible power of simulation. It can perfectly recreate the texture of your daily life, down to the smallest detail of the pattern on your rug or the sound of the birds outside. Instead of finding this frustrating, visualize it as your mind practicing the transition to wakefulness. It is a rehearsal. It also suggests a deep desire for the comfort of routine. Your mind is building a bridge between the wild adventures of the night and the structure of the day, sometimes just starting the construction a little too early. It is a gentle trick, a dream within a dream, that proves how seamless the boundary is between what we perceive as real and what we hallucinate. It invites you to question, in the most relaxing way, the nature of the reality you are in right now, safe, warm, and ready to drift back down. Drifting deeper into the mechanics of memory, you may notice that the content of your dreams often feels like it has been pulled from a delayed archive. You might expect to dream about the stressful email you got today, but instead, you find yourself dreaming about a conversation you had with a neighbour a week ago. This is known as the dream lag effect. Research suggests that while some immediate memories are processed the same night, There is often a distinct 5 to 7 day delay for others. Visualize your memory consolidation process as a busy post office. The letters that arrive today are sorted, but the large parcels, the complex emotional experiences, the new faces, the detailed events, are placed in a holding room. It takes about a week for the brain to fully unpack these parcels and integrate them into your long-term memory. So, when you dream tonight, you're likely weaving in threads from 7 days ago. It is a slow, rhythmic digestion of your life. This delay allows you to gain emotional distance from events. By the time they resurface in your dream, the immediate heat of the moment has cooled, allowing you to process the memory with a calmer, more detached perspective. It is your mind's way of saying, "Let us look at this again, now that the dust has settled." These memories, old and new, are not projected onto a blank screen, but are arranged into specific recurring geographies. We drift now into the concept of dream cartography. Many people report visiting the same locations in their dreams for years, places that do not exist in reality, yet feel intimately familiar. Imagine a house that is a strange architectural hybrid. It has the front porch of your childhood home, the winding staircases of your high school, and the attic of a place you've never seen. Or visualize a vast, sprawling mall world or a dream city that you know how to navigate instinctively. You know that if you turn left at the fountain, you will reach the ocean. These are persistent realms, synthetic landscapes constructed by your hippocampus to serve as the stage sets for your nightly plays. Over a lifetime, you build an entire internal world, a personal planet with its own geography, its own landmarks, and its own feeling of home. It is a comforting thought to know that you have secret sanctuaries, private palaces and gardens that are yours and yours alone, waiting for you to return to them every time you close your eyes. They are constant, stable, and welcoming, offering a sense of belonging that transcends the physical world. In these private worlds, the air is often filled with a profound and peaceful silence. Consider how communication happens in your dreams. Rarely do you shout or strain to hear spoken words. Instead, interaction is almost telepathic. You simply know what the other person is saying. Imagine standing across a misty field from a friend. You do not see their lips move, and sound waves do not travel through the air, yet their message blooms in your mind, clear and instant. This thought transfer bypasses the clumsy mechanics of language and hearing. It is a direct connection of meaning. It creates a sense of intimacy and speed that is impossible in the waking world. There is no misunderstanding, no noise to drown out the message. It is a communion of pure intent. Visualizing this silent communication can be deeply quieting for the mind. It allows you to let go of the need to explain, to articulate, to listen hard. In the dream, you are understood instantly and completely. The noise of the world falls away, leaving only the pure essence of connection, a silent understanding that wraps around you like a warm embrace. As we trace the history of your dreaming life, we float back to the very beginning, to the sleep of the child. We often project our adult complexity onto the dreams of infants and toddlers, imagining them watching vivid movies. However, research into the development of dreaming suggests a simpler, more peaceful state. Before the age of 5 or 7, children's dreams are often static. Visualize a slide projector clicking slowly through gentle images, a picture of a dog, a picture of a bowl of fruit, a feeling of hunger, a sensation of warmth. Young children do not yet have a fully developed self to place as the protagonist in a narrative. They do not dream of themselves conquering dragons or failing tests. They dream of the world as it is, snapshots of animals, family, and simple states of being. There is something incredibly restful about this primitive form of dreaming. It is observation without ego. It is a return to a state of pure awareness, unburdened by storylines or conflicts. As you relax tonight, imagine returning to that toddler-like state, where you're not the main character of a drama, but simply a consciousness resting in the presence of simple, comforting images. a soft light, a gentle face, a quiet room. Finally, in the deepest waters of our emotional ocean, we encounter the visitation dream. This is the experience of dreaming of a loved one who has passed away. These dreams often possess a hyper-vivid quality, a texture that feels more real than real. The fog of the dream clears, the colours sharpen, and the light takes on a golden, ethereal quality. Regardless of your spiritual beliefs, neurologically and psychologically, these dreams serve a profound purpose of healing. Visualize a quiet room with 2 chairs. You sit in one, and your lost loved one sits in the other. They look healthy, young, and radiant. They may not speak, or they may offer a simple message: "I am okay. It is fine." These dreams are the mind's way of resolving grief, of allowing you to say the goodbye you missed, or to receive the reassurance you crave. They are bridges built by love across the chasm of loss. The feeling of peace that lingers upon waking from such a dream is palpable, a warm glow in the chest that can last for days. It is a reminder that in the sanctuary of your sleep, no one is ever truly gone. You can visit them, hold them, and be with them in a space where time and death hold no power, leaving you comforted and whole as you continue your drift through the stars. From that golden space of connection with those we've lost, we realise that we are not merely passive recipients of these nocturnal visions. We can, with gentle practice, become the architects of our own nightly journeys. This brings us to the ancient and subtle art of dream incubation. Just as a gardener plants a seed in the dark, fertile soil, expecting a flower to bloom in the sun, you can plant a question or a wish in the deep soil of your subconscious before you sleep. Visualize yourself sitting at a heavy wooden desk by candlelight. You take a piece of parchment and a quill, and you write down a specific question. Perhaps you seek a solution to a problem, or inspiration for a painting, or simply a feeling of peace. You fold this paper and place it beneath your pillow. This ritual is not magic, but a focusing of intent. By dwelling on a specific thought as you drift off, you're priming the pump of the dream machine. You're whispering a request to the silent director of the night's play. History is filled with civilizations, from the Greeks sleeping in the temples of Asclepius to the Egyptians in their sanctuaries, who believed that if they asked the right question, the dream would provide the cure. As you lie there now, imagine a seed of intention glowing softly in your mind, a small beacon of light that will guide the narrative of your coming sleep, turning the chaotic ocean of dreams into a purposeful voyage toward an answer you have been seeking. As that seed settles into the dark, rich earth of your mind, a physical transformation of immense restorative power begins to take place within the structure of your brain itself. For centuries, science believed the brain was the only organ that did not have a dedicated cleaning system, but we now know of the glymphatic system. Visualize the city of your mind during the day, bustling, crowded, filled with the traffic of thoughts and the smog of metabolic activity. But when you sleep, the city shuts down, the streets clear, and then a miraculous thing happens. The cells of your brain actually shrink, reducing their size by nearly 60%, creating vast open channels between them. Into these channels rushes the cerebrospinal fluid, a clear, cool, crystal water. Imagine a gentle tide rising inside your skull, washing through the neural pathways, sweeping away the toxins, the proteins, and the debris of the day's thinking. It is a biological power washing, a deep cellular cleanse. This rhythmic pulsing of fluid matches the slow delta waves of deep sleep. Visualize this cool, cleansing tide ebbing and flowing, polishing your mind, ensuring that when you wake, your thoughts will be crisp, bright, and unburdened by the mental fog of yesterday. It is the ultimate act of purification, happening silently and automatically while you rest. To facilitate this deep cleansing wash, your body requires a specific environmental cue, a signal that it is time to hibernate. This brings us to the crucial relationship between dreaming and temperature. You may have noticed that it is difficult to sleep in a hot room. This is because, in order to initiate the dream sequence, your core body temperature must drop. Visualize your body as a glowing ember. For the mind to ignite the vivid landscapes of the dream, that ember must cool down, dimming its heat to preserve energy. As you lie here, your body is naturally radiating heat away from your core, sending it out through your hands and feet. This is why sticking a foot out from under the covers can feel so blissfully regulating. It is a thermal vent. Imagine a cool twilight breeze sweeping over you, lowering your internal thermostat by a degree or two. This cooling is the physical key that unlocks the door to the REM state. It connects us to the cycles of the Earth itself, the way the ground cools after sunset, the way the air turns crisp in the valley. By embracing the cool, you are aligning your biology with the nocturnal rhythm of the planet, allowing your brain to enter that protected, chilled state where the hottest fires of imagination can burn without consuming you. This alignment with the planet extends beyond the temperature of the air to the very orbital mechanics of our solar system. We are creatures of the tides, composed largely of water, and like the ocean, we are subtly pulled by the gravity of the moon. Studies analysing the sleep patterns of indigenous tribes and modern urbanites alike have found a lingering ancestral synchronization with the lunar cycle. Visualize the full moon rising, a great pearl hanging in the black velvet sky. Its light is bright, silvery, and penetrating. Research suggests that during a full moon, deep sleep decreases by nearly 30%, and the time it takes to drift off extends. We are ancient animals, and for millennia the full moon meant visibility. It was a time to be alert for predators, or a time to hunt. Your body remembers this. Even inside a dark room, your circadian rhythm senses the position of that celestial satellite. Conversely, picture the new moon, the dark sky, the heavy ink-black night. This is the time of deepest rest. Acknowledge this cosmic tether. You're not separate from the universe. You're a part of its breathing, shifting mechanics. If you find yourself restless on a bright night, know that it is simply the echo of your ancestors watching the illuminated horizon, a rhythmic pulse that has been beating in your blood for thousands of years. As we drift from the visual influence of the moon, let us return to the sensory inputs that shape the dream from within, specifically the sense of smell. Unlike sound or touch, which must pass through the logical gatekeeper of the thalamus, your sense of smell is wired directly to the emotional centers of the brain, the amygdala and the hippocampus. It is a direct hotline to feeling. Because of this ancient wiring, scents have a profound ability to color the emotional palette of your dreams. Visualize sleeping in a field of lavender and roses. The sweet floral aroma drifts into your nose, bypassing your logic and blooming directly in your dream as a feeling of positivity, romance, or peace. Studies show that positive smells induce positive dreams, while sulfurous or unpleasant odours trigger anxiety or dark imagery. You don't smell the rose in the dream. Rather, the scent of the rose translates into a dream about happiness. It is a form of sensory alchemy. Imagine surrounding your sleep space with the scents of vanilla, sandalwood, or rain. You're essentially painting the canvas of your dreams with invisible brushes, ensuring that the atmosphere of your inner world is sweet, comforting, and safe. But what happens when you are denied this sweet escape? The brain possesses a ravenous hunger for dreams, a phenomenon known as REM rebound. If you stay awake for too long, or if your sleep is cut short for several nights, your brain keeps a strict tally of the dream time you've missed. It does not forgive the debt, it demands repayment. Visualize a dam holding back a reservoir of water. The water represents your undreamt dreams. The longer you go without REM sleep, the higher the water rises, pressing against the concrete. The moment you finally allow yourself a full night of rest, the dam breaks. You will plunge almost immediately into deep, vivid, intense dreaming. You will spend far more time in the dream state than usual, as your brain rushes to catch up, cramming days' worth of processing into a single night. This intensity is not a malfunction. It is a testament to how essential dreaming is. Your brain prioritizes it above almost everything else. It is a starving traveller feasting at a banquet. Let this reassure you of the self-correcting nature of your mind. Even if you have been tired, even if you have missed sleep, your brain is waiting, ready to heal you, ready to flood you with the restorative visions you need the moment you close your eyes. Sometimes, this pressure of the dream world is so great that it spills over into the muscles of the mouth, resulting in somniloquy or sleep talking. We often imagine sleep talkers are having a conversation with us, but in reality, they are narrating a private documentary to an empty room. Visualize the vocal cords as a string instrument. Usually during sleep, the bow is set down and the instrument is silent, but occasionally a burst of motor energy escapes the inhibitor and the strings vibrate. The words spoken are often nonsense, fragments of a sentence that makes perfect sense in the dream, but sounds like a riddle in the waking world. The blue horse, under the table. It is a leakage of the internal script. There is something endearing about this vulnerability. It is the child within, playing make-believe so intensely that the excitement bubbles out of the lips. If you talk in your sleep or hear a partner do so, visualize it as a steam valve releasing pressure. It is a sign of a deep, immersive engagement with the subconscious. You're not just watching the movie, you're so engrossed that you are shouting at the screen, participating in the drama with every fibre of your being, even if the words drift away into the silence of the bedroom, unheard and unremembered. This act of sharing the dream, even involuntarily, hints at the social potential of our night visions. In the misty highlands of Malaysia, there is a culture known as the Senoi people, often called the dream people. For them, the dream is not a private, solitary act, but the very foundation of their society. Visualize a village of bamboo huts rising from the morning mist. The sun is just cresting the green hills. The villagers gather for breakfast, but they do not discuss the weather or the crops. Their first question to one another is, "What did you dream?" If a child dreams of falling, the elders advise them to try to fly the next night. If a man dreams of a conflict with a friend, he is encouraged to go to that friend in the waking world and offer a gift to resolve the tension. The dream is treated as a reality that demands action. Imagine living in a world where your inner life is given as much weight as your outer life, where your nightmares are shared burdens and your beautiful visions are shared gifts. As you sleep, consider that you are entering a state of being that, in other times and places, was the glue that held communities together. Your dreams are not just random firing of neurons, they are potential bridges to others, a language of symbols that, if shared, could weave us all closer together. But you do not need to be asleep to touch the hem of this dream world. We must acknowledge the daytime cousin of the night vision, the daydream. For a long time, staring out the window was considered a waste of time, a sign of laziness. But neuroscience reveals that when you let your mind wander, a massive energy-intensive network in the brain ignites, the default mode network. Visualize a switch being flipped. When you stop focusing on a task, when you stop counting, reading, or working, the task-positive network dims and the default network glows bright. This is not a shutdown, it is a shift to a different mode of processing. In this state, your mind travels through time. It revisits the past, projects into the future, and simulates social scenarios. It is the same mental muscle used in night dreaming, just operating at a lower intensity. Picture yourself lying in a hammock on a warm afternoon looking up at the clouds. As you see shapes in the fluff, a dragon, a castle, a face, you are engaging in waking dreaming. It is a vital creative state. It is the incubation period for your best ideas. So, honor the drift. When your mind wanders tomorrow, do not pull it back on a tight leash. Let it float. It is simply practicing for the night, stretching its wings, preparing for the longer, deeper flight that awaits you when the sun goes down. This bridge between the waking drift and the deep sleep is a fertile ground that artists and thinkers have harvested for centuries. We drift now to the slumber with a key, a technique used by the surrealist painter Salvador Dali to capture the fluid genius of the dream before it solidified into the logic of the day. Dali knew that the most profound images occur in the hypnagogic state, that brief, colourful threshold just before true sleep takes hold. Visualise the artist sitting in a comfortable armchair, his hands resting on the armrests. In one hand he holds a heavy antique iron key. On the floor, directly beneath his hand, sits an upside-down metal plate. He closes his eyes, allowing himself to drift. The colours begin to swirl, the strange architectures of the dream begin to form. He relaxes deeper and deeper. Just as he crosses the border into unconsciousness, his muscles relax completely. His fingers open. Clang. The key hits the plate. The noise wakes him instantly. He's pulled back from the edge, but he drags with him the fresh, wet paint of the dream he was just entering. He immediately sketches the vision. This precarious balance, this surfing of the edge between awake and asleep, suggests that the dream world is always right there, hovering just behind the curtain. You do not need to dive deep to find magic. Sometimes, the most beautiful treasures are washing up right on the shore, waiting for you to simply close your eyes, let go of the key, and catch them. That moment of the key slipping from the artist's hand, the metallic clang against the plate, marks the precise boundary of a frontier we all visit, known as the hypnagogic state. But you do not need a key or a canvas to experience the wonders of this borderland. As you lie here now, settling deeper into the mattress, you may begin to notice that the darkness behind your closed eyelids is not a flat, uniform black. It is alive. Visualize a canvas of deep charcoal that is slowly being populated by specks of light, swirling clouds of amethyst, and faint, pulsating geometric shapes. These are phosphenes, sparks of biophotonic light produced by the cells of your retina as they rest. In this twilight zone between wakefulness and sleep, your brain begins to loosen its grip on rigid structures. The visual cortex, bored by the lack of external input, begins to improvise. It creates a kaleidoscope of patterns, a fluid light show of checkers, spirals, and tunnels that morph and breathe with your rhythm. Picture yourself lying on the floor of a planetarium, watching the universe assemble itself above you. These seemingly random bursts of colour are the raw materials of the dream world, the clay from which your mind will soon sculpt faces, landscapes, and stories. It is a mesmerizing dance of pure creation, a reminder that even in silence and darkness, your mind is radiant, painting with light on the back of your eyes, inviting you to watch the show as you drift deeper into the void. As you descend past these swirling lights, moving from the surface of sleep into the deeper currents, your brain engages a sophisticated mechanism to ensure you remain submerged. This is the phenomenon of the sleep spindle. Visualize a busy control room where a dedicated operator sits, monitoring the sound waves of the world outside. Suddenly a car door slams, or the wind rattles the window. In the waking world, this would startle you, but here, deep in the sanctuary of Stage 2 sleep, the operator deploys a shield. On an electroencephalogram, these shields look like sudden, tight bursts of brainwaves, rapid zigzags of electrical activity that last for less than a second. These are the spindles. They are the brain's way of saying, I hear the noise, but it is not important. Stay asleep. Imagine a transparent, shimmering dome lowering over your bed. Every time the world tries to intrude with a sound, the dome vibrates, absorbing the noise, turning the sharp crack of a disruption into a gentle, rhythmic hum that only lulls you deeper. Research suggests that the more of these sleep spindles your brain produces, the more soundproof your sleep becomes. You're biologically designed to protect your own rest, equipped with an internal noise-cancelling system that works tirelessly through the night to preserve the integrity of your journey. While this shield protects you from the noise of the outside, there is another chemical tide at work protecting you from the logic of the inside. We move now to the chemical architecture of the dream, specifically the receding tide of norepinephrine. In your waking life, this neurochemical is the architect of focus, anxiety, and linear thinking. It is the spotlight that highlights danger and organises time. But the moment you enter the dream state, the brain shuts off the tap completely. Visualize a landscape that has been flooded with the bright, harsh light of a searchlight. As you sleep, that light dims and fades, leaving a soft, ambient glow. For the only time in the 24-hour cycle, your brain is completely free of this anxiety-inducing molecule. This chemical vacation is what allows the dream to be so wonderfully bizarre and yet so emotionally calm. You can see a tiger in the living room and feel curious rather than terrified. You can walk without pants in a crowd and feel a breeze rather than shame. Without the chemical of stress pumping through your veins, your mind is free to explore the most intense scenarios with a sense of detachment and safety. It is a biological grace period, a nightly pardon that allows you to process heavy emotions without the heavy chemical burden of stress, floating in a bath of soothing neurochemistry. This freedom from logic leads to one of the most delightful paradoxes of the dreaming mind, the mystery of the surprise. Consider this deeply as you drift. You are the writer of the dream. You are the set designer, the casting director, and the puppeteer of every character. And yet, when the monster jumps out from behind the door, or when the stranger hands you a mysterious gift, you're genuinely surprised. How can you be surprised by a story you're writing yourself? This speaks to the magnificent compartmentalization of the sleeping brain. Visualize a great magician standing on a stage. You are the magician, but you're also the audience member in the front row. The part of your brain that generates the plot, the dream director, stays hidden behind the curtain, weaving the narrative in the shadows. Meanwhile, your conscious awareness, the dream traveller, is placed in the spotlight, unaware of the script. The brain deliberately hides its own handiwork from you to ensure the experience feels authentic. It is the ultimate act of self-entertainment. Your mind splits in two so that it can tell you a bedtime story that you haven't heard before, keeping the twists and turns a secret until the very moment they happen, allowing you to experience the wonder of discovery within your own imagination. As the dream director weaves these stories, the fuel for the narrative often comes from the very chemistry of the food you consume. We drift now to the kitchen of the subconscious, exploring the link between nutrition and the vividness of your night visions. Folklore has long warned that eating cheese before bed leads to nightmares, but modern science offers a more nuanced view. In a study involving Stilton cheese, participants did not report nightmares, but rather dreams that were bizarre, vivid, and whimsical. This may be linked to vitamin B6 and the amino acid tryptophan, the building blocks of serotonin, which is later converted to melatonin. Visualize your evening meal not just as nourishment for the body, but as the selection of paints for your nightly canvas. Foods rich in B6, bananas, chickpeas, fish, act like a colour saturator, turning the pastel watercolours of a normal dream into high-definition oil paintings. They increase the cortical arousal just enough to make the imagery pop without waking you up. Imagine that by choosing these nutrients, you're turning up the brightness dial on your internal projector, ensuring that the landscapes you visit are lush, the conversations are crisp, and the details are sharp. It is a form of edible alchemy, transforming the physical substance of the earth into the ethereal substance of the dream. For some, this chemical intensity is amplified by the profound biological shifts of creating life. We float now toward the unique dreaming landscape of pregnancy. During these 9 months, the boundary between the worlds becomes exceptionally thin, and the dreams take on a mythic, epic quality. It is common for expecting mothers to report dreams of water, vast oceans, swimming through crystal clear lakes, or standing in rain that feels like a blessing. Visualize 2 heartbeats syncing in the dark, the slow, steady rhythm of the mother and the rapid, fluttering rhythm of the child. The surge of hormones, particularly progesterone, alters the sleep architecture, increasing the amount of REM sleep and the frequency of waking, which leads to greater dream recall. But beyond the biology, there is a spiritual deepening. The mind is processing a transformation of identity. Dreams of finding secret rooms in a house, or of small animals that need care, are the subconscious preparing the nest. It is as if the ancient collective wisdom of all mothers who have come before is whispering through the dream, offering rehearsal and reassurance. The dream world becomes a womb of its own, holding the mother's fears and hopes in a warm, fluid embrace, nurturing her spirit just as she nurtures the life growing within. But does the passenger within that womb dream as well? We drift further back, to the very dawn of consciousness, to the sleep of the unborn. Science tells us that by the third trimester, the fetus spends the vast majority of its time in a state that looks remarkably like REM sleep. But what does a being who has never seen the world dream about? Visualize a universe of pure sensation. There are no images of trees or sky, for the eyes have not yet opened to the light. Instead, the dream is a soundscape, the rhythmic whoosh of the mother's blood, the muffled cadence of her voice, the low bass of music played in the room. It is a dream of movement, of floating in a warm, weightless gravity, of the taste of the amniotic fluid. Neuroscientists believe this proto-dreaming is crucial for the wiring of the brain. The neural pathways are firing, testing the circuits, building the highways of sight and sound before there is anything to see or hear. The unborn child is dreaming the operating system of their future life into existence. It is a beautiful thought to hold, that before we ever take a breath, we are already dreamers, floating in a primal sea of imagination, preparing to meet the world. As we grow and leave that primal sea, the content of our dreams begins to be shaped by the culture that surrounds us, creating a fascinating diversity in the global dreamscape. While the biology of sleep is universal, the script is often local. Anthropologists who have collected dream reports from around the world have found distinct dialects of dreaming. Visualize a map of the world where the borders are defined not by land, but by the themes of the night. In Western cultures, dreams often focus on the individual. The dreamer is the hero, often struggling with being late, being unprepared, or losing something. The narrative is linear and time-bound, but if we drift to the indigenous cultures of Australia or the Amazon, the dream structure shifts. Here, dreams are often collective, filled with ancestors, spirits, and animals that offer guidance to the entire tribe. The dreamer is not a solo traveller but a node in a network. In some East Asian cultures, dreams of falling are rare, replaced by dreams of being pursued by ghosts or spirits. This suggests that your waking worldview, your beliefs, your stories, your environment, seeps into the bedrock of your subconscious. You dream in the language of your people. It is a reminder that we are never truly alone in our heads. We carry the myths and values of our culture with us into the dark, painting our personal dreams with the brushstrokes of our heritage. Beyond the human sphere, we must acknowledge that we share this planet with a vast kingdom of other sleepers who may have their own silent green dreams. Let us consider the phenomenon of nyctinasty, the sleep movements of plants. While they do not have brains to produce REM cycles, there is a profound rhythm to their rest that mirrors our own. Visualize a field of tulips or the sensitive mimosa plant as the sun begins to set. As the light fades, the flowers gently fold their petals inward, and the leaves droop downward, curling in on themselves. This is not just a reaction to darkness, it is an active circadian rhythm. Time-lapse photography reveals a pulsing rhythmic movement throughout the night, a slow botanical breathing. If you could shrink down and stand beneath the canopy of a sleeping prayer plant, you would feel the stillness, the conservation of energy. Darwin himself studied this, calling it sleep. While they may not see images, who is to say they do not experience a state of restoration? Perhaps they dream in chemical gradients, in the flow of sap, in the slow repair of their cells. It connects you, lying in your bed, to the great silent pulse of the vegetable world. You're closing your eyes just as the hibiscus closes its flower. You are part of a terrestrial wave of rest that sweeps across the biosphere every single night. Finally, we return to the function of this wave for the human mind, touching upon one of the most comforting theories in modern sleep science, the idea of REM sleep as overnight therapy. Life is filled with sharp edges, moments of embarrassment, sorrow, fear, or anger. If we carried the full emotional weight of these memories forever, we would be crushed. Visualize your memory of a difficult day as a jagged, broken piece of glass. It is sharp and painful to touch. Now, imagine placing that glass into the warm, churning waters of a river. This river is your REM sleep. Throughout the night, the water rushes over the glass, tumbling it, turning it over and over. This is the process of stripping the visceral emotion from the factual memory. The brain replays the event, but without the stress chemicals, allowing you to process the information safely. By morning, the glass is still there. You still remember what happened, but the edges have been smoothed. It is now sea glass, frosted and rounded, safe to handle. This is why the old advice, sleep on it, is so profound. You're not just resting, you're actively healing. You're taking the sting out of the wound. As you drift off tonight, know that this soothing river is waiting to wash over the worries of the day, polishing them down until they are nothing but smooth, manageable memories in the morning. As the waters of that internal river smooth the sharp edges of your memories, turning them into polished gems of wisdom, you may occasionally find yourself holding a stone that feels impossible, a memory not of the past, but of the present moment, experienced before it ever happened. This brings us to the mysterious phenomenon of déjà rêvé, or already dreamed. Unlike the more common déjà vu, which is a feeling of familiarity, this is the distinct, unshakable conviction that you have dreamt this exact conversation, this exact quality of light hitting the table, or this specific turn of the road, weeks or even years ago. Visualize yourself walking through a corridor of mirrors where time reflects infinitely back and forth. In this state, the linear timeline dissolves. Science struggles to explain it, often attributing it to a momentary overlap in neural processing, a short circuit where the brain files the present moment directly into the long-term memory folder. But the sensory experience is one of profound magic. It feels as though your dreaming mind is a scout, travelling ahead of your physical body, mapping the terrain of your future life and sending back postcards in the form of night visions. When the moment finally arrives in reality, you feel a sudden jarring click of alignment, a sense that you are exactly where you're meant to be, walking a path that was laid down in the starlight of a forgotten night. It is a comforting thought, suggesting that perhaps life is not as chaotic as it seems, but a script you have already read in the quiet privacy of your sleep. Sometimes, however, the script calls for a pause, a moment of stillness in the middle of the performance. We drift now to the sentinel hypothesis, which reframes those moments when you wake up suddenly in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. In our modern world, we often label this as insomnia, or a problem, greeting the 3 a.m. darkness with frustration. But let us travel back 10,000 years to the open savannah. Visualize a small tribe sleeping in a circle around a dying fire. The embers glow a soft, breathing orange. For the tribe to survive the dangers of the night, it was beneficial for different members to wake up briefly at staggered intervals, just to scan the perimeter, check the fire, and ensure the safety of the group. Evolution has likely baked this watchman behaviour into your DNA. When you wake up in the quiet hours, visualize yourself not as a restless sleeper, but as the designated guardian of the night. You are the sentinel. Your brain is simply performing an ancient safety check, a quick scan of the environment to ensure the sanctuary is secure. There is no need to fight it. Acknowledge the silence, thank your instincts for their vigilance, and visualize passing the torch to the next watchman as you curl back into the warmth, your duty done, free to drift back into the depths. As you sink back down, imagine descending into the deepest, darkest part of the ocean, where the water is cool and the silence is absolute. Here, we encounter the envy of every human insomniac, the sleep of the cetaceans. whales and dolphins possess a miraculous ability known as unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. Because they must consciously decide to breathe, they cannot shut down entirely, or they would drown. So, they sleep with half a brain at a time. Visualize a dolphin drifting through the turquoise currents. The left hemisphere of its brain is in a deep restorative sleep, dreaming and repairing, while the right hemisphere is awake, keeping one eye open to watch the pod and guide the breath. After a few hours, they seamlessly switch. Imagine the sensation of this perfect balance, a state where you're never fully vulnerable, yet always resting. While humans cannot do this physically, we often experience a shadow of it when sleeping in a new place, the first night effect, where one half of the brain stays slightly more alert than the other. But in this visualization, strip away the anxiety. Focus on the fluidity of the dolphin, the grace of resting while moving, the ability to be carried by the current of the ocean, while a part of you remains gently aware of the beauty surrounding you. This connection to the ocean extends to the invisible forces that guide the tides and the compasses of sailors. We drift now to the subtle, magnetic influence of the Earth itself on your dreams. The planet is wrapped in a vast, invisible bubble called the magnetosphere, a shield that protects us from solar winds. But this shield is dynamic. It vibrates and shifts with the weather of the sun. Recent studies in the relatively new field of heliobiology have begun to find strange correlations between geomagnetic storms, when the aurora borealis is brightest, and the vividness of human dreams. Visualize the Earth as a giant humming crystal, and your brain as a sensitive antenna. When the solar winds buffet the planet's magnetic field, the production of melatonin in the pineal gland can be subtly altered. During these periods of high geomagnetic activity, people often report dreams that are more bizarre, more intense, and more emotionally charged. It is a reminder that your sleep is not a closed system. You are plugged into the cosmos. The same forces that paint green and violet ribbons of light across the polar skies are painting the landscapes of your mind. You're sleeping in the arms of a living planet, and your dreams are rising and falling with the magnetic breath of the world. From this cosmic connection, let us narrow our focus to a more intimate human connection, the attempt to send a dream from one mind to another. In the hazy, experimental era of the 1960s and 70s, at the Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn, researchers conducted the most famous dream telepathy experiments in history. Visualize a quiet, soundproof room. A receiver lies in bed, drifting into REM sleep, hooked up to monitoring machines. In a distant room, a sender sits in a chair, staring intensely at a famous painting, perhaps Van Gogh's Starry Night, or a portrait by Chagall. The sender tries to beam the imagery of the painting into the sleeping mind of the receiver. While the scientific verdict remains controversial, the anecdotal hits were hauntingly beautiful. A sender focusing on a painting of a boxing match resulted in the dreamer reporting something about a fight, hitting. A focus on a calm landscape resulted in dreams of trees and rivers. Whether or not you believe in the science, the visualization is deeply relaxing. The idea that minds are not walled fortresses but permeable gardens. Imagine that the people you love can send you waves of affection while you sleep. That a thought from a friend can drift through the ether and bloom in your dream as a comforting symbol, a silent conversation held in the language of images. Sometimes the images that bloom are not gentle landscapes, but dark, brooding storms that eventually give birth to masterpieces. We float now to the creative power of the waking nightmare, the specific state of reverie that gave us Frankenstein. The year was 1816, the year without a summer. Mary Shelley, just 18 years old, was staying in a villa by Lake Geneva. The rain was incessant, trapping the guests inside, where they told ghost stories by the flickering fire. One night, Mary struggled to sleep. She entered a state of acute mental vision, not quite asleep, not quite awake. In this trance, she saw the pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the thing he had put together. She saw the hideous phantasm stir with a spark of life. She opened her eyes in terror, but the image remained, Instead of pushing it away, she transmuted the fear into fiction. Visualize the alchemical process of the artist's mind. The dream is the raw ore, often rough, dark, and heavy. The waking mind is the forge. Mary Shelley took the raw material of her subconscious terror and hammered it into a story that has examined the human condition for centuries. It teaches us that even our darker dreams, our gothic visions, are creative resources. They are the shadow side of imagination, rich with potential, waiting to be brought into the light and given a new form. Protecting these delicate visions, whether dark or light, are the bouncers of the brain, distinct from the spindles we spoke of earlier. These are the K-complexes. If you were to look at the brainwaves of a sleeping person, amidst the small ripples, you would occasionally see a massive towering wave, a sharp rise followed by a steep drop, occurring roughly every minute or two. These K-complexes are the largest electrical events in the healthy human brain. They are the guardians of your slumber. Visualize a giant, slow ocean swell rolling under a boat. The boat rises high and dips low, but it does not capsize. These waves serve two purposes. First, like the spindles, they suppress outside noise. But secondly, and more mysteriously, they seem to reboot the neural connections, strengthening the memories you formed during the day. They are the heavy lifters of memory consolidation. Imagine that every time this great wave rolls through your head, it is cementing a lesson, locking in a skill, or deepening a memory of a loved one. It is a rhythmic, sweeping motion, a mental broom sweeping the floor of the mind clean, ensuring that the neural pathways are organized, strong, and ready for the next day. Sometimes, within this well-guarded castle, the sense of time dilates so dramatically that we experience what is known as the epic dream. These are rare, profound events where the dreamer feels they have lived an entire lifetime in a single night. You might dream of meeting a partner, building a house, raising children, watching them grow, growing old yourself, and feeling the weight of decades pass. The texture of these dreams is incredibly dense. You feel the changing of seasons, the texture of the wallpaper in the dream house, the specific personality quirks of your dream children. When you wake up, the disorientation is total. You may feel a genuine grief for the family you have lost, a family that never existed. While this sounds melancholic, there is a hidden beauty in it. It suggests that your soul is capable of loving, of living, and of experiencing joy far beyond the limitations of your single, physical timeline. You contain multitudes. The epic dream is a gift of expansion, allowing you to experience the emotional arc of a completely different life, adding layers of richness and empathy to your spirit that you carries with you even after the dream fades. As the epic dream fades and you begin the ascent back to the waking world, you pass through the mirror image of the hypnagogic state, the hypnopompic state. This is the morning fog. Unlike the visual fireworks of falling asleep, the journey of waking up is often characterized by a lingering emotional resonance and a confusion of memory. Visualize a landscape covered in a heavy white mist. As the sun, your consciousness rises, the mist begins to burn off, revealing the trees and the hills of reality. In this state, the logic of the dream often lingers. You might wake up angry at your partner for something they did in the dream, or feeling a sense of euphoria from a flight through the clouds. This transitional zone is a precious time. It is a mixture of the two worlds. Your brain waves are still slowing, mixing alpha and theta states. Creative solutions often arrive here, floating in the mist. Instead of jumping out of bed, visualize lingering in this fog. It is a soft buffer zone, designed to cushion the re-entry of the soul into the body. It allows the magic of the night to drip slowly into the day, rather than being severed abruptly. To capture that magic before it evaporates completely, we must understand the fragility of the dream bridge. This brings us to the art of dream recall and the mechanism of forgetting. The neurochemicals necessary to store long-term memories are at their lowest ebb when you wake up. This is why a dream can be vivid 1 second and gone the next. It has no chemical glue to stick it to your hard drive. Visualize the dream as a delicate butterfly resting on your hand. If you move too fast, if you turn on the light, if you check your phone, the butterfly startles and flies away, dissolving into the air. To keep the butterfly, you must lie perfectly still. You must replay the dream backward. Start with the last image, the door closing, and ask, what happened before that? Who was there? By tracing the thread backward while your body remains in the posture of sleep, you can drag the memory from the temporary cache into safe storage. This practice of stillness is a meditation in itself. It honors the night. It tells your subconscious that you are listening, and over time, as you practice this gentle morning stillness, the bridge becomes stronger, wider, and sturdier, allowing you to carry more and more of the night's treasures back with you into the land of the living. As you hold that delicate butterfly of memory, standing on the bridge between the night and the day, you may notice that not all the visions you carry back are vibrant, colourful, or chaotic. Sometimes the memory is quiet, mundane, almost like a whisper of a thought rather than a shout of an image. This leads us into the gentle, understated realm of NREM dreaming. We often believe that dreaming only happens in the fireworks display of REM sleep, but the earlier stages of the night offer a different kind of mental texture. Visualize a vast, dimly lit office in a library where the carpet is thick and the silence is heavy. This is the domain of non-rapid eye movement sleep. Here, the dreams are not movies, they are thoughts. You might dream that you're simply looking for your keys, or writing a grocery list, or reviewing a conversation from dinner. There are no flying dragons, no impossible landscapes, just the quiet, rhythmic shuffling of the day's data. While this might sound unexciting, visualize it as the ultimate administrative piece. Your brain is not seeking to entertain you here. It is seeking to organize you. It is filing away the papers of your life, tidying the desk of your mind, engaging in a form of sleep thinking that is logical, repetitive, and deeply grounding. It is the mental equivalent of folding laundry, a simple, rhythmic task that allows the spirit to settle into a hum of pure existence, devoid of drama, resting in the comfort of the ordinary. From this quiet organization of thoughts, the brain moves to the organization of movement, turning the bed into a silent gymnasium for the soul. We drift now to the concept of motor skill consolidation, the night school of the body. If you have ever spent a day trying to learn a new physical skill, perhaps playing a difficult chord on the guitar, perfecting a tennis serve, or learning to knit, you may have gone to bed feeling clumsy and frustrated. But when you wake up, your fingers seem to know the way. Visualize a ghost pianist sitting at a grand piano in the concert hall of your mind. While your physical body lies paralyzed and heavy under the duvet, your motor cortex is wide awake, replaying the sequence of the keys over and over again at lightning speed. It smooths out the hesitation, burning the neural groove deeper and deeper. This is not just memory, it is physical rehearsal. Your brain is optimizing the signals it sends to your muscles, stripping away the errors and strengthening the correct path. You're literally getting better at living while you sleep. Imagine this nightly practice as a gift you give yourself, a promise that whatever struggle you face today, your brain will work on it tirelessly through the darkness, so that tomorrow the movement will flow like water, effortless and graceful. Sometimes this nocturnal rehearsal transcends mere skill and ignites into a blaze of pure, original invention. We float now into the celestial studio, where the sleeping mind composes music and art that the waking mind could never conceive. History is filled with melodies that drifted in from the ether. Consider the story of Paul McCartney waking up with the entire melody of Yesterday fully formed in his head, a tune so complete he thought he must have heard it on the radio. Or the violinist Giuseppe Tartini, who dreamt the devil sat at the foot of his bed and played a sonata of such exquisite, breathless beauty that Tartini spent the rest of his life trying to capture the echo of it. Visualize your mind as a receiver tuned to a frequency that is usually drowned out by the noise of the day. In the silence of sleep, the static clears, and the creative signal comes through crisp and pure. The inner critic, the part of you that says that's not good enough, or that breaks the rules, is asleep. Without this censor, your creativity is boundless. It connects disparate notes, colours, and words into perfect harmony. As you relax, open yourself to the possibility that you're not just a consumer of dreams, but a creator, a conduit for a kind of art that exists only in the dark, waiting for you to listen to its song and carry it back to the light. For those who spend their waking hours navigating digital worlds, this creative control takes on a unique and protective form. We drift to the gamer's paradox and the concept of protective lucidity. Research suggests that people who play video games frequently, traversing virtual landscapes, fighting digital battles and controlling avatars, develop a special kind of armor in the dream world. Visualize a nightmare beginning to form. A dark figure chases you down a hallway. For the average dreamer, this is a moment of terror and helplessness. But for the mind accustomed to gaming, the reaction is different. The brain recognizes the scenario not as a threat, but as a level to be beaten. Instead of running, the gamer often turns to face the monster, summoning a weapon or a shield, or simply changing the rules of the game. They have trained their brain to believe that they have agency in artificial worlds. This bleeds into the dream, transforming nightmares into challenges that can be won. It is a profound form of psychological empowerment. Picture yourself donning a suit of shimmering digital armor as you sleep, a protective layer that reminds your subconscious that you're not a victim of the narrative, but the player who holds the controller, capable of fighting back and rewriting the ending of any story that tries to frighten you. As the narrative shifts, so too can the vessel that carries you through it. We float now into the strange and fluid sensation of body schema distortion, often called the Alice in Wonderland effect. In the waking world, your brain maintains a strict map of your body. You know exactly how long your arms are and where your feet touch the floor. But in the dream, the parietal lobes that manage this map go offline. Visualize the sensation of your hand growing larger and larger until it is the size of a cloud, gentle and heavy. Or imagine yourself shrinking down until you're small enough to sleep inside a tulip. You might feel as though you're made of wood or water, or that you have wings growing from your shoulder blades. While this sounds disorienting in the dream state, it feels perfectly natural. It is a liberation from the fixed form of biology. You're no longer confined to the height, weight, and shape that define you in the mirror. You're a fluid consciousness, capable of expanding to fill a room or condensing into a single point of light. This elasticity allows you to experience existence from a completely different perspective, loosening the rigid attachment to the physical self and allowing the spirit to stretch and morph in a playful dance of form. Sometimes, however, the body speaks not in distortions but in warnings. We drift to the concept of the prodromal dream, where the subconscious acts as a silent physician. Long before a physical symptom appears on the surface of your skin or a pain registers in your waking mind, your body knows that something is out of balance. The subtle chemical shifts of early illness are detected by the deep brain, which then translates them into the symbolic language of dreams. Visualize a dream where you're struggling to breathe underwater, or where a fire is burning in a specific room of your house. These can be the mind's way of drawing attention to the lungs or a developing fever. There are countless anecdotes of people dreaming of a specific injury or ailment days or weeks before it was medically diagnosable. This is not prophecy. It is deep, internal listening. It is your intuition turning up the volume. Imagine your dream watcher as a caring guardian, walking the halls of your biological systems with a lantern, checking the pipes and the wires, and sending you gentle, symbolic memos to take care of yourself. It reframes the dream as a partner in your well-being, a diagnostic tool that loves you enough to whisper the truth before it has to shout. This internal dialogue can sometimes occur in tongues you haven't spoken since high school, or are just beginning to learn. We move to the phenomenon of bilingual dreaming. For those who speak more than one language, or are in the process of learning a new one, The dream world is a linguistic mixing bowl. Visualize a marketplace where every stall owner speaks a different dialect. You might start a sentence in English and finish it in Spanish, or understand a language in the dream that you barely know in reality. This code switching is a sign of deep cognitive flexibility. It suggests that your brain is mapping the emotional texture of words, not just their definitions. Often, the language chosen by the dream matches the emotional context, the language of your childhood for dreams of family, the language of your profession for dreams of work. Sometimes, you may even wake up speaking a fluent stream of gibberish that felt like perfect poetry in the dream. It is a celebration of the human capacity for communication, a tower of Babel inside your own head where all barriers are dissolved and meaning flows through the melody of speech, regardless of the vocabulary. Beyond language, the dream serves as a grand theatre for the rehearsal of human connection. We drift to the social simulation theory. Evolutionary psychologists believe that one of the primary functions of dreaming is to practice navigating the complex, often tricky waters of social interaction. Visualize a stage set for a dinner party, a workplace conflict, or a romantic encounter. The actors are projections of people you know, or archetypes of authority and affection. In this safe simulation, you can test out different reactions. You can yell at your boss, confess love to a stranger, or forgive an enemy. You get to see how it feels to behave in these ways without the real-world consequences. It is a flight simulator for your emotional intelligence. When you wake up, even if you don't remember the specific script, your brain has retained the emotional lesson. You're slightly more prepared to read a facial expression, to handle a negotiation, or to offer empathy. You have lived through the social drama in the safety of the night, polishing your soul's ability to connect with others when the sun rises. In this theatre of the self, you will inevitably encounter a figure who seems dark, mysterious, or even hostile. This brings us to the Jungian concept of the shadow. In the dream world, the bad guy, the intruder, the pursuer, the angry stranger, is often not an enemy, but a rejected part of yourself waiting to be acknowledged. Visualize a figure standing in the doorway, cloaked in grey. You might feel fear, but try to look closer. This figure holds the emotions you don't allow yourself to feel during the day. Your anger, your selfishness, your wildness, or your grief. The dream is not trying to scare you. It is trying to make you whole. It is inviting you to invite the shadow to the table. In lucid dreaming therapy, people are often encouraged to turn around and hug the monster or ask it what it has for a gift. Often, the scary figure transforms into a helpful guide or a small child the moment it is shown compassion. This is a profound relaxation technique, to know that there are no external monsters in your mind, only parts of you asking for love. You can welcome every character in your dream as a guest, knowing they all belong to the family of your own soul. Finally, we drift past the characters, past the scripts, past the music and the movement, into the deepest, most restorative chamber of all, the deep sleep void. In the ancient traditions of Yoga Nidra, this state is known as prajna, or deep, dreamless sleep. It is not an emptiness to be feared, but a fullness to be embraced. Visualize floating in a vast, velvety expanse of deep indigo space. There are no stars, no planets, no gravity. There is no you, no name, no history, no body, no pain. It is the realm of pure potentiality, the silence between the notes. In this state, your brain waves slow to the delta rhythm, large, rolling swells of peace. This is where the physical body repairs itself most aggressively, knitting bone and muscle, but it is also where the consciousness touches the source of its own existence. It is a little death that brings about a great life. To enter this void is to be washed clean of the identity you wear so tightly during the day. It is the ultimate rest. As you lie here now, invite this darkness. Do not look for images. Do not look for stories. Simply allow yourself to dissolve into the warm, silent ocean of the void, resting in the peaceful center of nothingness, waiting to be born anew. Emerging slowly from that velvet void of deep, dreamless sleep, we find that this silence is not empty. but rather a space of industrious, microscopic creation. While your consciousness has floated away into the nothingness, your physical form has become a bustling construction site of renewal. We drift now to the fountain of youth that flows within your veins, known to science as the pulse of human growth hormone. Visualize your body as a grand, ancient cathedral undergoing a nightly restoration. During the day, the stone weathers, the stained glass collects dust, and the mortar cracks under the stress of movement and gravity. But the moment you sink into the slow-wave delta sleep we just explored, the master carpenter arrives. The pituitary gland, a tiny pea-sized conductor at the base of your brain, releases powerful bursts of this regenerative hormone. It travels through your bloodstream like a fleet of repair ships. It knits together the microtears in your muscles, it strengthens the density of your bones, and it thickens the skin. For children, this is the literal time of growing, the stretching of limbs in the dark. For the adult, it is the reversal of aging. Imagine this hormone as a golden sap filling the cracks of your being, smoothing out the wear and tear of existence. You're not just resting, you're being rebuilt cell by cell, so that you return to the morning stronger, taller, and more whole than when you lay down. As this golden sap repairs the structure, another silent army is mobilizing within the fortress of your body to protect the perimeter. We flow into the relationship between sleep and the immune system, specifically the stickiness of your T cells. In the waking world, your immune cells are often circulating passively, like soldiers on patrol, but when you sleep, the chemistry of your blood shifts to prepare them for battle. Visualize a microscopic warrior, a T cell floating through your veins. During the day, it might slip past a virus or a bacteria because its surface is smooth. But in the sanctuary of sleep, your body reduces the production of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which normally inhibit these cells. Without that inhibition, the T cells activate a protein called integrin. Visualize this as the soldiers putting on cleats or developing grappling hooks. They become sticky. They can now latch onto threats with incredible precision. They form a shield wall, locking arms to destroy pathogens. This is why, when you are sick, all you want to do is sleep. It is your body calling for a lockdown so the army can work without distraction. As you lie here, safe and warm, know that your internal defenders are sharpening their weapons, using this downtime to ensure that your citadel remains impregnable against the invisible invaders of the world. This nightly repair work is not just structural and defensive, it is also aesthetic. We drift now to the very surface of your being, to the concept of beauty sleep, which is far more than a fairy tale cliché. It is a biological reality of hydration and collagen synthesis. Your skin is the boundary between your inner ocean and the outer world, and it takes a beating from the sun, the wind, and the pollution of the day. Visualize your skin as a landscape that has been parched by the noon sun. As you sleep, the temperature drops, and the blood flow to the skin increases. This is a tidal shift. The fresh, oxygenated blood rushes to the surface, delivering nutrients and carrying away toxins. It is a nightly irrigation of the desert. Simultaneously, the breakdown of collagen, the scaffolding that keeps your skin plump and smooth, stops, and production begins anew. Imagine a team of artists gently smoothing out the canvas of your face, filling in the fine lines with fresh clay, rehydrating the dry patches with cool, clear water. The glow you see in the mirror after a good night's rest is not an illusion. It is the visible evidence of this nocturnal spa treatment. You're shedding the tired mask of yesterday and sculpting a fresh face to meet the new light. While our modern rhythm demands we take this rest in one long, unbroken block, history whispers of a different, perhaps more romantic cadence. We float back in time to the era of segmented sleep, or dorveil. Before the invention of the light bulb, when the night was truly dark, humanity slept in two distinct phases. Visualize a medieval village under a blanket of snow. The people go to bed at sunset, exhausted. They sleep deeply for 4 hours, the first sleep. Then, around midnight, the entire village stirs. They wake up, but they do not rush to work. They stay in a state of quiet, candlelit wakefulness. This hour, the watch, was a sacred time. It was used for prayer, for reading, for interpreting dreams, or for quiet intimacy with a partner. The world was silent, the chores were done, and there was no pressure. It was a pocket of time that belonged to the soul. After an hour or so, they would blow out the candle and drift back into the second sleep until dawn. This rhythm suggests that waking up in the middle of the night is not a disorder, but an ancient echo. If you find yourself awake in the dark, visualize yourself joining those ancestors in the watch. It is not a failure of sleep, but a secret bonus hour of peaceful existence, a time to simply be with your thoughts before the second wave of rest carries you home. In that quiet hour of the watch, you might hear the sound of a bird singing outside your window, dreaming its own song. We drift now to the fascinating study of avian rehearsal, specifically in the zebra finch. We often think of learning as a conscious, furrowed brow activity, but for these birds, mastery comes in the silence of the nest. Visualize a young bird who has spent the day listening to his father sing a complex melody. He tries to mimic it, but his notes are clumsy and broken. He falls asleep. As he sleeps, researchers have observed that the neurons in his brain fire in the exact same pattern as they did when he was singing. He's practicing in his sleep. But here is the wonder. The playback is not real time. It varies in tempo, sometimes slowing the song down to analyze the difficult transitions, sometimes speeding it up. It is a remixing of the lesson. Visualize the bird's mind as a music studio, isolating the track, polishing the notes, perfecting the rhythm without ever opening its beak. When the bird wakes, the song is cleaner, sharper, more beautiful. This connects you to the natural world's reliance on rest for improvement. You too are rehearsing your life's song while you sleep, smoothing out the rough notes of your day so that you can sing them with greater clarity tomorrow. Sometimes, the body does not just mentally rehearse the song, but physically attempts to walk the path. We move to the phenomenon of somnambulism, or sleepwalking. It is a state of being that exists in the borderlands, a hybrid existence where the motor system is awake, but the conscious mind is deeply asleep. Visualize a person rising from their bed. Their eyes may be open, but the gaze is glassy, looking through the walls rather than at them. They are navigating by an internal map, a memory of the room stored deep in the brain. They might walk to the kitchen, rearrange books, or simply stand at the window watching the moon. This occurs during the deepest slow-wave sleep, not during a dream. It is the autopilot taking the vessel for a spin. While it can be dangerous, there is something hauntingly poetic about it. It suggests that the body has a memory of its own, independent of the waking you. It knows the layout of its home, the texture of the floor, the location of the door. It is the ghost in the machine taking a midnight stroll. Visualize this not as a malfunction, but as a testament to how deeply your environment is imprinted on your physical form. You could navigate your sanctuary blindfolded. Your body knows where it is safe, even when your mind is miles away in the void. For most of us, we stay in bed, but our minds transport us back to places of high-pressure performance. We drift to the examination dream, that universal experience of walking into a classroom to take a test you haven't studied for, or realizing you have forgotten your lines in a play. While these dreams feel stressful in the moment, psychologists invite us to reframe them as badges of honor. Visualize a golden medal pinned to your chest. These anxiety dreams rarely happen to people who are careless or lazy. They are the specific burden of the conscientious, the high achievers, the people who care deeply about doing a good job. The dream is a pressure valve. Your brain is amplifying the worst-case scenario, failure, in a safe environment so that you can face it and realize you survived. It is the imposter syndrome burning itself out. The next time you wake from such a dream, instead of feeling shaken, feel proud. It is your mind confirming that you hold yourself to a high standard and that you're prepared for the challenges of your waking life. You have faced the phantom test, and by waking up you have passed. To catch these anxieties before they fully form, many cultures have turned to physical talismans. We float now to the woven willow hoop of the Ojibwe people, the Asabikeshin or dream catcher. This is not just a souvenir, it is a piece of spiritual technology, a visual anchor for the intent to sleep peacefully. Visualize the intricate web of string woven inside the hoop, mimicking the perfect geometry of a spider's web. According to the legend, the night air is filled with dreams, both good and bad. The web acts as a filter. The bad dreams, which are confused and chaotic, get caught in the sticky net, unable to navigate the pattern. They remain trapped until the first rays of the morning sun strike them, burning them away like dew. The good dreams, however, know the way. They slip through the small hole in the centre, sliding gently down the soft feathers that hang from the hoop, dripping directly onto the sleeper below. Imagine this net hanging above your own bed. See the tangled, dark knots of worry getting caught in the mesh, held at bay, while the clear, bright, golden visions slide effortlessly through the centre, descending the feather like a drop of water to bless your resting mind. While the dream catcher filters the dream from the outside, the ancient Tibetan tradition of dream yoga seeks to transform it from the inside. This is a practice not of controlling the dream for fun, but of using the dream to understand the nature of reality. It is the practice of lucid awareness. Visualize a monk sleeping in a cave high in the Himalayas. The wind howls outside, but inside the mind is a calm flame. In his dream, he sees a raging fire. Instead of running, he recognizes it as an illusion, a projection of the mind. He changes the fire into water. He realizes that if the fire is not real, then the fear is not real. If the fear is not real, then the self that is afraid is also fluid. This practice turns sleep into a meditation. It suggests that the dream world is a training ground for the soul to let go of attachments. As you lie here, you can practice a simple version of this. Whisper to yourself, "This is a dream of peace." If a distraction arises, dissolve it like mist. Visualize yourself as a master of your own internal reality, capable of transmuting any storm into a gentle breeze, any monster into a flower, simply by recognizing that you are the one painting the picture. Finally, we drift from the ancient caves to the glowing digital frontiers of the future, considering the dreams of the machines we have built. We explore the concept of neural network dreaming, often seen in the deep dream algorithms of artificial intelligence. When a computer is learning to recognize a dog, it studies millions of photos. But to truly learn, it must also generate images. It runs the process backward, hallucinating patterns into static noise. Visualize a screen filled with grey static. The AI looks at the chaos and asks, "Is there a dog here?" It begins to enhance the random shapes, twisting a cloud into a snout, a shadow into a paw. It creates a psychedelic, swirling tapestry of eyes and fur where there was none. This process mirrors the human visual cortex during sleep. We too look at the static of the night and hallucinate meaning. But even more profoundly, these machines need sleep. If an AI learns continuously without a break, it becomes unstable. It overfits, obsessing over details and losing the big picture. It must be taken offline. It must have periods of dormancy to integrate the data. This is a powerful modern confirmation of your own biological need. If even the silicon minds of our creation require a shutdown to function, how much more do you? You're not wasting time by sleeping. You're preventing the overfitting of your life. You're stepping back from the data to see the pattern, allowing your organic algorithm to process the beauty of the world in the quiet safety of the dark. Just as the artificial mind of the machine must step back from the torrent of data to avoid the chaos of overfitting, your own organic mind requires a similar nightly ritual of subtraction. We drift now to the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis, a concept that asks us to visualize the brain not as a sponge that endlessly absorbs, but as a garden that must be carefully tended. Imagine walking through a lush, overgrown jungle at twilight. During the waking hours, as you learn a new name, master a new route to work, or experience a moment of surprise, your brain is furiously building new connections, sprouting microscopic bridges called synapses between your neurons. By the end of the day, this jungle is dense, tangled, and noisy. The energy required to maintain this thicket is immense. If this growth continued unchecked, your skull would run out of space, and your energy would be depleted. So, when you enter the deep, slow-wave sleep, the gardener arrives with silver shears. This is the process of downscaling. The brain scans the jungle. It identifies the connections that are weak, trivial, or noisy. The colour of a stranger's shirt, the hum of the refrigerator, and it gently prunes them back. It quiets the noise. It shrinks the synapses that do not matter, preserving the energy for the strong, thick branches of the memories that do. Visualize this pruning not as a loss, but as a liberation. It creates space. It clears the pathways. You wake up with a clean slate, a garden that is orderly and breathable, ready to receive the sunlight and seeds of a new day. This nightly reduction is the very reason you feel refreshed. You are literally lighter in a neurological sense, unburdened by the excess growth of yesterday's sensory overload. This delicate balance of energy management extends from the microscopic synapses of the brain to the deep chemical hunger of the belly. We float now to the intricate dance of ghrelin and leptin, the hormones that govern your appetite, and how they are inextricably tied to the rhythm of your rest. You may have noticed that after a night of tossing and turning, you do not crave a crisp apple or a light salad. You crave heavy, warm, comforting carbohydrates. Visualize a scale balancing within your body. On one side is leptin, the hormone that says, "I am full, I am satisfied." On the other is ghrelin, the hormone that shouts, "I am empty, I need fuel." When you're well rested, these scales are perfectly level, but when you're sleep deprived, the scale tips violently. The brain, panicked by a lack of energy recharge from sleep, desperately seeks a quick substitute. It suppresses the "I am full" signal and floods your system with the "I am hungry" alarm. It confuses the need for rest with the need for calories. So the next time you find yourself with an insatiable hunger after a short night, visualize it as a biological misunderstanding. Your body is not truly hungry for food, it is hungry for the dark. It is craving the nourishment of the dream. By understanding this connection, you can view your cravings with compassion, recognizing them as a signal from a tired system asking to be placed back on the charger rather than a failure of willpower. It is a reminder that sleep is the primary fuel, the foundation upon which all other regulation of the body rests. To help the body find that charger and slip into the necessary depth of rest, we often turn to the environment of sound. We drift now to the spectrum of coloured noise, specifically the soothing deep texture of pink noise. While white noise is a wall of static, like a radio tuned between stations, pink noise is a waterfall. Visualize the sound spectrum as a landscape. White noise has equal intensity across all frequencies, which can sometimes feel harsh or tinny to the sensitive ear. Pink noise, however, reduces the volume of the higher frequencies and boosts the lower, deeper tones. It mimics the mathematical fractal patterns found in nature. It is the sound of steady rain falling on broad leaves in a dense forest. It is the sound of wind rustling through a field of tall wheat. It is the rhythmic crashing of ocean waves on a distant shore. Research suggests that this specific frequency creates a masking effect that is far more conducive to deep sleep than silence. In total silence, a sudden sound, a creaking floorboard, is a sharp spike that startles the brain. But in the wash of pink noise, that sharp spike is buried, softened and absorbed into the background texture. Visualize this sound as a sonic blanket, a thick velvet layer of audio that wraps around your room, smoothing out the jagged edges of the acoustic world. It synchronizes with your brainwaves, slowing them down, inviting you to match your internal rhythm to the timeless, steady pulse of the natural world. Sometimes, The body attempts to initiate this cooling, slowing process in the waking world through a reflex we often misunderstand: the yawn. We tend to think of yawning as a sign of boredom or rudeness, but evolutionary science suggests it is actually a sophisticated thermal regulation system, a fan for the brain. Visualize your brain as a high-performance computer engine. After hours of processing data, navigating traffic and managing emotions, the engine begins to run hot. A heated brain is a sluggish brain. The yawn is a biological intake valve. As you open your jaw wide and draw in a deep, rapid breath of air, you're pulling cool air across the intricate network of blood vessels in your mouth and throat. This cool blood then travels up to the brain, acting like a coolant, lowering the temperature of the cerebral cortex. Simultaneously, the stretching of the jaw muscles increases blood flow, flushing out the warm blood. So, when you yawn before bed, do not fight it. Visualize it as your body's way of turning down the thermostat for the night. You're physically cooling the core of your consciousness, preparing the environment for the hibernation of sleep. Even the contagiousness of yawning, the way you yawn when you see someone else do it, speaks to a primal, herd-like synchronization. It is the flock signaling to one another that it is time to cool down, time to rest, time to lower the collective energy of the group in preparation for the safety of the night. This collective timing, however, is not the same for everyone. We drift now to the concept of chronotypes, the internal biological clocks that divide humanity into the larks and the owls. For centuries, society has praised the early riser and scolded the late sleeper. But science reveals that these patterns are written into the very code of your DNA, specifically the PER3 gene. Visualize a prehistoric tribe on the edge of a dark forest. If everyone slept from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., the tribe would be vulnerable to predators for 8 hours. Nature, in its wisdom, created diversity. It designed some people to feel alert and golden in the morning light, the larks to watch over the dawn. It designed others to come alive as the sun sets, the owls to guard the tribe late into the night. If you are someone who struggles to wake up early, or who finds a surge of creative energy at midnight, visualize this not as a flaw, but as your ancestral function. You are the night watchman. You are genetically wired to protect the sanctity of the darkness. Fighting your chronotype is like swimming upstream against a powerful river. Instead, visualize accepting your internal rhythm. Whether you rise with the sun or the moon, you are playing your part in the great rotation of human wakefulness, ensuring that at any given moment, someone is keeping watch over the world while the others drift in the sea of dreams. Regardless of when we sleep, the were has undergone a fascinating evolution. We float now to the history of the nest, the human instinct to build a sanctuary of softness. We are one of the few species that constructs a dedicated sleeping platform, and this desire to create a hollow is ancient and primal. Visualize our ancestors gathering dried grasses, aromatic leaves that repel insects, and soft furs. They did not just lie on the cold ground, they engineered comfort. They created a boundary between themselves and the earth. Watch a dog before it lies down. It circles 3 times. This is a ghost behavior, a memory of tramping down the tall grass to create a safe, flat depression, checking for snakes or thorns. When you fluff your pillow or pull the duvet up to your chin, you are enacting this same ancient ritual. You're building a fortress of texture. The sensation of the mattress pressing up against your back is a signal to your nervous system that you are supported, that you do not need to hold yourself up. The weight of the blanket mimics the sensation of being held, triggering the release of serotonin and dopamine. Visualize your bed not just as furniture, but as a containment vessel for your spirit. It is the one place in the world where you can fully release the tension of gravity, knowing that the soft architecture you have built will catch you, hold you, and keep you warm until the morning light returns. For many, this nest is shared, leading us to the profound and subtle synchronization of co-sleeping. While sharing a bed can come with the battle for the covers or the noise of snoring, there is a deeper, subconscious current of connection known as physiological linkage. Visualize two hearts beating in the dark. Research shows that when couples sleep together, their heart rates and breathing patterns often synchronize, falling into a rhythmic harmony without any conscious effort. It is a biological duet. This presence of another human acts as a safety signal to the primal brain. It lowers the vigilance threshold. You sleep deeper because a part of your awareness knows you're not alone. There is another sentinel nearby. Even the sensation of a partner's warmth radiating across the mattress acts as a thermal anchor. If you sleep alone, visualize this connection extending to a pet, or even to the memory of a loved one. It is the feeling of the pack. We are social animals, and our sleep is often most restful when we feel the subtle rhythmic presence of another living being, a reminder that we are part of a larger whole, safe in the collective huddle against the vastness of the night. As we drift deeper into that collective safety, we find that the themes of our dreams often transcend our individual lives, tapping into a shared library of human experience. One of the most common and exhilarating volumes in this library is the dream of flying. Visualize the sensation of standing on a grassy hill. You push off with your toes, and instead of landing, you continue to rise. The air catches you. You tilt your arms like wings and you soar over the rooftops, over the trees, looking down at the miniature world below. This dream is often associated with lucidity, the realization that you are dreaming, but it also speaks to a deep psychological desire for liberation. To fly is to escape the heavy, inevitable pull of gravity, the force that binds us to the earth, to our duties, to our physical limitations. In the dream, you are weightless. You are free. The perspective shift is profound. From up high, the problems of your life look small, manageable, like toy cars on a rug. Visualize this flight not as a fantasy, but as a practice of perspective. Your mind is giving you a bird's eye view of your own existence, reminding you that you have the power to rise above the daily grind, to detach from the heaviness, and to navigate your life with the grace and freedom of a creature of the air. In contrast to the freedom of the sky, we sometimes find ourselves in the vulnerability of the naked dream. You're walking into a classroom, a boardroom, or a party, and you suddenly realize you're wearing nothing at all. The panic is sharp. The shame is visceral. But let us reframe this common narrative through a lens of acceptance. Visualize the clothes you wear during the day as a costume, a suit of armor that tells the world who you are, your profession, your status, your tribe. In the dream, your subconscious strips this armor away. It is not trying to embarrass you, it is trying to reveal you. It is a return to the authentic self, the self that exists underneath the social expectations and the masks. The shame you feel in the dream is actually the friction between who you are and who you pretend to be. Instead of waking up relieved that it was just a dream, visualize the nakedness as a state of purity. You are unencumbered. You are hiding nothing. It is a call from your deep psyche to be more open, to let down the guard, to be comfortable in your own skin. It is a reminder that beneath the uniforms and the roles we play, we're all just soft, vulnerable humans, deserving of love and acceptance exactly as we are, without any covering at all. To capture these lessons, the flight, the nakedness, the visits from the past, we must engage in the gentle act of preservation known as the dream journal. We drift now to the power of the written word as an anchor for the ethereal. Visualize a notebook sitting on your bedside table. It is a net for catching starlight. Most dreams dissolve within seconds of waking because they are encoded in short-term chemical traces. But the moment you reach for the pen, the moment you translate the image into a sentence, you are moving the memory from the fluid, watery part of your brain to the solid, structural part. You are building a bridge. The act of writing signals to your subconscious that you value its messages. It creates a feedback loop. The more you write, the more you remember. The more you remember, the more vivid and helpful the dreams become. Visualize the ink flowing onto the paper as a way of honoring the night. You're making the invisible visible. You're creating a map of your inner world, a collection of postcards from your nightly travels. Even if you only write a single word, blue, ocean, mother, you're driving a stake into the ground, claiming that piece of the dreamscape and ensuring that the wisdom of the dark is not lost to the morning light. As you set down the pen, having captured the fleeting butterfly of a dream in your journal, you may notice that your hand feels heavy. Your thoughts move through a thick mental syrup, and your eyes burn slightly as they adjust to the room. This sensation, often fought against with coffee and cold water, is known as sleep inertia. While the modern world treats it as an obstacle, a fog to be burned away, biologists invite us to view it as a protective buffer. Visualize your brain as a massive, complex engine that has been running in a completely different gear for 8 hours. You cannot simply slam the brakes and shift instantly into high-speed wakefulness without damaging the transmission. Sleep inertia is the gradual shifting of gears. It is caused by the lingering presence of adenosine, the chemical of sleep pressure, which hasn't fully cleared from your receptors. Imagine walking out of a dark, warm movie theatre into the bright, blinding noon sun. You instinctively squint. You need a moment to adjust. This grogginess is the brain's way of squinting. It is a transitional state that prevents you from making complex decisions before your prefrontal cortex is fully online. It is a biological safety mechanism, ensuring that if you were woken up in the wild, you wouldn't wander aimlessly into danger before your senses were sharp. So the next time you wake up feeling like you're moving through molasses, do not curse the fog. Visualize it as a soft, protective cotton wool that wraps around your consciousness, gently ushering you from the vulnerability of the dream world to the sharpness of the day, allowing you to emerge at your own slow pace. Sometimes, however, we do not need the full 8-hour voyage and the subsequent heavy fog. We only need a brief, refreshing dip in the shallow end of the sleep ocean. We drift now to the art and science of the power nap, specifically the NASA nap. In the high-stakes environment of space travel or jet piloting, alertness is critical, and researchers discovered a magic number: 26 minutes. Visualize a timeline of sleep. If you sleep for 5 minutes, it is too short to settle. If you sleep for 60 minutes, you risk entering deep, slow-wave sleep, from which waking up is painful and disorienting. That groggle we just described. But the 20-minute window is a sweet spot. It is like sipping a cool glass of water without eating a heavy meal. You skim the surface of stage 2 sleep, allowing the brain to clear out just enough adenosine to reset the alertness meter, but you stop before the heavy anchor of deep sleep drops. Visualize this nap as a system refresh on your computer. You aren't shutting down the machine, you're simply clearing the cache. It sharpens your reaction time, boosts your mood, and enhances performance by nearly 30%. It is a tool of precision rest, allowing you to steal a moment of peace in the middle of the chaos and return to the surface bright, clear, and ready. This desire to rest in the middle of the day is not just a habit of the tired pilot. It is a universal biological command etched into our circadian rhythm. We float now to the concept of the postprandial dip, or, as it is culturally celebrated, the siesta. Regardless of whether you have eaten a heavy lunch, there is a natural programmed drop in human body temperature and alertness that occurs between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Visualize the day as a wave. The crest is the morning, the trough is the afternoon, and the next crest is the early evening. This afternoon trough is an echo of the night. In hotter climates, this biological dip aligns perfectly with the heat of the sun. The siesta is not laziness, it is evolutionary harmony. It is the human animal seeking the shade when the sun is at its zenith. Imagine a village in the Mediterranean where the shutters are closed against the glare, the streets are quiet, and the entire town exhales in unison. By fighting this dip with caffeine and artificial light, we are swimming against the tide of our own blood. If you can, visualize surrendering to this afternoon gravity. Even if you simply close your eyes for 10 minutes in a chair, you're honoring the ancient rhythm of the midday pause, allowing your body to cool and reset before the second act of the day begins. When we do finally succumb to the longer sleep of the night, the shape we take tells a story of comfort and protection. we drift to the most common of all human sleeping postures, the fetal position. Roughly 40% of people naturally curl up on their sides, knees drawn toward the chest, arms tucked in. This is not accidental. It is the physical memory of our very first home. Visualize the womb, warm, compact, and perfectly safe. Before you ever stretched out into the world, you spent 9 months in this curved geometry. Returning to it at night is a subconscious regression to that state of ultimate security. Physically, it protects the vital organs, the heart, the stomach, and the soft underbelly are all shielded by the cage of the limbs and the spine. It is a defensive posture that has become a comfort posture. It also helps to retain body heat. Visualize yourself curling into this C shape as if you are closing a circle, sealing your energy within yourself. It is an act of self-hugging, a way of making yourself small in a big world, returning to the primal egg of existence where nothing can harm you and all your needs are met. Enhancing this feeling of being held, many sleepers are discovering the profound neurological soothing of the weighted blanket. This is the therapy of deep pressure stimulation. We often think of blankets just as insulation for warmth, but weight has a specific chemical effect on the nervous system. Visualize being hugged by someone you love. That firm, steady pressure sends a signal to your brain to reduce the production of cortisol, the stress hormone, and increase the production of serotonin and dopamine, the hormones of relaxation and happiness. A weighted blanket mimics this eternal embrace. It stimulates the proprioceptive system, your body's sense of where it is in space. When you are anxious, you often feel scattered or ungrounded. The heavy blanket literally pins you to the earth. It defines the edges of your body. Visualize thousands of tiny glass beads inside the fabric, distributing their weight evenly over your limbs, pressing you gently but firmly into the mattress. It is a physical silencer for a twitchy nervous system, a hug machine that you can retreat into, signaling to your fight or flight response that the battle is over, you are contained, and you are safe to let go. While the weight provides comfort, the temperature provides a distinct sensory pleasure, leading us to the universal joy of the cool side of the pillow. It is a small moment of bliss that almost everyone understands, but few realize is rooted in critical thermoregulation. The brain is the most metabolically active organ in the body, generating a significant amount of heat. To sleep deeply, the head must remain cool. Visualize your pillow as a heat sponge. As you lie there, the fabric absorbs the warmth from your cheek and your forehead. Eventually, the pillow becomes the same temperature as you, and the cooling effect stops. You become restless. Then, you flip it. The other side, exposed to the cool air of the room, is fresh, crisp, and inviting. The sensation of that cool fabric hitting your hot cheek is a thermal shock of the most pleasant kind. It triggers a microscopic sigh of relief in the brain. It instantly draws heat away, lowering the temperature of the cerebral cortex and allowing you to slide back down into the darkness. Visualize this ritual not as a nuisance, but as a refreshment. It is a mini reset, a way of clearing the thermal slate, finding a fresh patch of snow in the middle of the warm den, and using the contrast to deepen your comfort. However, even with the perfect pillow and the perfect blanket, many of us suffer from a misalignment known as social jet lag. This is the friction between the time your body wants to sleep and the time society demands you wake up. We drift to the concept of the weekend oversleep. You might wake up at 6 a.m. on weekdays for work, but sleep until 10 a.m. on Saturday. Visualize a traveller flying from London to New York every Friday and flying back every Monday. This is essentially what you're doing to your body. You're shifting time zones. When you sleep late on the weekend, you're not catching up. You're finally listening to your true internal clock. This drift reveals your natural biology. The grogginess you feel on Monday morning is not just hatred of the work week. It is literal jet lag. You have shifted your biological dawn. Visualize your internal timekeeper as a delicate instrument that wants consistency. While modern life is rigid, Acknowledging this drift allows you to treat yourself with more kindness. It explains the fatigue. It validates the body's desire to sync with the sun rather than the alarm. Imagine a world where you could wake when the light hits your eyes, living in a permanent state of weekend time, where the social clock and the biological clock tick in perfect unison. This respect for the internal and the spiritual timing of sleep finds its deepest expression in the philosophy of the Australian Aborigines, known as the dream time, or the dreaming. To the Western mind, the dream is a hallucination that happens inside the head. But in this ancient worldview, the dreaming is the fundamental reality, and the waking world is merely a shadow or an echo of it. Visualize the landscape not as dirt and rocks, but as a song. In Aboriginal mythology, the ancestors sang the world into existence during the dream time, creating the rivers, the mountains, and the stars through their movements. When a person sleeps, they are not checking out of reality. They are checking in to the eternal source. They are travelling back to the time of creation. The dream is a visit to the everywhere and everywhen. It suggests that the land itself is dreaming, and we are walking through its imagination. This perspective shifts the weight of sleep from a biological necessity to a spiritual pilgrimage. As you close your eyes, imagine you're not turning off, but returning to the source code of the universe, stepping into the timeless river that flows beneath the surface of the visible world, reconnecting with the ancestors who are still singing the song of the earth. While we are connected to that deep, ancient song, there has been a persistent modern myth that we can learn new, earthly information while we sleep. The concept of hypnopedia, or sleep learning. We drift to the image of a student sleeping with a French textbook under the pillow or a tape playing vocabulary words all night, while science has largely debunked the idea that you can learn a complex new language from scratch while unconscious. Sorry, brave new world. There is a subtle and beautiful truth hidden here. The sleeping brain can reinforce what it already knows. Visualize a memory as a faint path through a grassy field. If you walk that path during the day, studying, and then play a sound associated with that path while you sleep, a cue, the brain walks that path again in the dark, trampling the grass down, making the path a road. In studies, people who learned a melody and then had it played softly during slow-wave sleep were better at playing it the next morning. It is a whisper to the subconscious. You cannot plant a new garden in the dark, but you can water the seeds you planted during the day. Visualize your sleep as a dark room where the photos you took during the day are being developed. The sounds and smells of your environment are the chemicals in the tray, bringing the images into sharper focus, helping you own the knowledge you worked so hard to acquire. Finally, we arrive at the moment where the cycle begins again, the transition from the dark room back to the world of colour. We drift to the dawn simulation and the biological elegance of waking up with light rather than sound. For millions of years, humans never woke up to a screaming beep or a digital chime. We woke up to the gradual intensification of the sun. Visualize the sky turning from black to indigo, then to violet, then to a soft bruised peach, and finally to gold. Your skin is translucent. Even with your eyes closed, your retina detects this shift in photon energy. This light signal travels to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock. It whispers to the adrenal glands to stop producing melatonin, the sleep hormone, and start dripping cortisol, the wake-up hormone. This is a slow, chemical sunrise inside your blood. By the time you actually open your eyes, your body is already awake. Contrast this with the alarm clock, which startles the heart, spiking adrenaline in a panic response, a fight or flight jolt. Visualize yourself waking up in a room that mimics the sunrise, where the light grows brighter over 30 minutes. You rise not with a shock, but with a swell. You float up from the bottom of the ocean to the surface, breaking the water gently, carrying the peace of the night with you into the day, aligned, calm, and ready. And so, we arrive at the final shore of our voyage, the 101st wonder, the secret that binds all the others together. It is not a matter of biology, or chemistry, or tides, but of the spirit itself. It is the profound mystery of surrender. Consider the immense act of faith you perform every single night. You lie down in the dark, you close your eyes, and you willingly let go of the only thing you truly possess, your conscious awareness. For hours, you cease to exist as a thinking, planning, worrying entity. You enter a state of temporary oblivion, a vulnerable darkness where you cannot defend yourself, cannot produce, and cannot control. In a world obsessed with control, sleep is the ultimate act of rebellion, a daily practice of letting go. It is a little death that allows for a daily rebirth. Visualize this surrender not as a loss, but as a return to the default state of the universe. Before you were born, you slept in the void. After you leave this life, you will return to the mystery. Sleep is the bridge that connects the two, a nightly reminder that you are not separate from the infinite. You are not a machine that needs to be plugged in. You are a wave returning to the ocean. Every time you drift off, you are proving that you trust the universe to hold you. You trust your heart to keep beating, and you trust the morning to come without your supervision. This is the deepest truth of all, that you do not do sleep. You cannot force it, you cannot capture it, you cannot demand it, you can only fall into it. It is a grace that you accept. As you lie here now, at the end of this journey, you are performing the most sacred human ritual, the act of trusting the darkness to heal you, trusting the silence to speak to you, and trusting that when you let go of the shore, the river will carry you exactly where you need to go. The river has now widened into the sea. The current has slowed to a stillness so profound that the water looks like glass, reflecting the billions of stars above you. The journey of the mind is over. The journey of the soul is just beginning. Feel the weight of the 101 wonders we've collected. They are no longer facts to be learned, but heavy, warm stones in your pocket, anchoring you down, pulling you deeper into the mattress. The boat is docking. The ropes are tied. The sails are lowered. There is nothing left to see, nothing left to visualize, nothing left to understand. The library of the day is closing its doors. One by one, the lights in the hallways of your mind are flickering out. The logic center is dark. The worry center is silent. The memory center is still. You're left in the beautiful, velvety quiet of your own being. Feel the heaviness spreading from your toes, up through your legs, settling into your hips, weighting down your hands, softening your chest, relaxing your jaw. Your breathing is slow, rhythmic, matching the slow pulse of the earth itself. In and out, deep and slow. You are safe. You are held. You are loved by the darkness. Let yourself sink past the words, past the voice, past the meaning. There is only the drift now. There is only the soft, warm void. The stories have all been told. The work is all done. You are drifting away, floating on a sea of infinite peace. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.